Hi everyone, welcome again back to my channel. I have a guest today. I apologize for the delay. Again, some technical issues related to sound this time, but it got fixed in the end. I'm talking today with someone that some of you might have heard of before or seen or heard about his story before, but this is the first time on my channel. So I'll be talking with Cyril Chiquet, who is a second-generation Scientologist living in Denmark and left Scientology since. And I would like to, bring him on stage now so we get to talk with each other. And welcome so much. Thank you so much for having me, giving me this opportunity to talk with you.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be finally on your channel.
Yes, we have. I think we have known of each other already for about a year's time, and met quite a long time ago. But this never came around. So it's you have a busy everyday life, and it's hard to.
With 2 kids, yeah, I'm busy. Yes.
Yeah. So, but now you have a couple of days on your own, so you can.
It's my last day, actually, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So. In case I expect there are people here who have not heard about your story, I think we could just basically start from the beginning and then see how
Sure.
far we get with everything.
Yeah,
But
sure.
you are not a Danish citizen.
No, so like you said, I'm a second-gen Scientologist. I'm born in Switzerland. My both parents are Swiss. When I was born, they were both on the OT level 7, which is the second last highest step you can do in Scientology.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you already. Your parents were already on OT7 when you were born.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were either on in 88. So yeah, I was born in 88, and when I was 9 months old, my mom went to Flag, Florida, Clearwater, and I think she was doing her OT levels there. So yeah, basically my whole childhood life has been with supposedly high-level Scientologist.
Yeah.
But yeah, my parents divorced then quite early. I was only 2 years old, so I lived mainly with my mother. Until 2003, where she wanted to join the Sea Org, and she asked me if I wanted to join the Sea Org, and I had no idea what it was about. I just said yes because we were going to America, and I wanted to go to America. So I just signed a 1 billion year contract. I think I was maybe 10, 11 years old, but I had no idea what I was signing. I just, whatever, I wanted to go. I have to sign this paper. I signed it, and then in 2003, we went to Los Angeles, and me and my little brother, we were supposed to join the ranch in Los Angeles, but it was closing down, and so we couldn't go in. So we were just left to do nothing for a while. So me and my little brother, we were just hanging out in Los Angeles, Hollywood, doing nothing, while my mother was in the Sea Org working from like 9 in the morning to 12 at night.
Yeah. What was, do you think, do you know the motivation for your mother to join the Sea Org, since she was so advanced on her bridge to total freedom? Why did she want to join the Sea organization at that stage?
Like specifically, I don't know, but she has always been a very, very dedicated Scientologist. She, even though she has 3 kids, so I have a bigger sister and then a little brother, she was always working, and then in the evening she would be on staff or go on course in the org, and we wouldn't see her very much. So she has always been a very, very, very dedicated Scientologist, very hardcore. And I know that when she was married with my dad, they wanted to go in the Sea Org, but it didn't happen. I don't know the reason why. I think because kids came, but that never happened. And then finally in 2003, she made it happen. Don't know why, but
okay. So you arrived in LA in 2003. You signed the contract, but in principle or in practice, you were not doing anything Scientology related.
No. So when I was a kid in Switzerland, I was doing some courses, the usual stuff that kids of Scientologists do, a communication course, ups and downs, life repair, some low basic stuff from Scientology. I did the objectives. At the time, it was called the objectives. Now it's called the survival round down. It's the first step on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hating it, but yeah, I kind of felt pressure to do it. So, and yet my understanding of Scientology at the time was not very big. I didn't know who David Miscavige was. I knew who Hubbard was because we were always clapping to him and stuff like that. But behind that, I didn't understand we were trying to clear the planet and we were on a mission like that. I didn't know. I only got to really learn all that when I joined the SEOG.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Los Angeles?
About 6 months.
So
About
6
6
months.
months.
Mm.
We were doing nothing. Me and my little brother, we were just skating around in not so safe neighborhoods.
Mm.
And then they have decided, because the ranch closed and we were a bit too young to join the EPF. We were starting to learn English. We wouldn't be able to do the EPF is the Estate Project Force, which is the boot camp you do before joining the SEOG. You have to go through that boot camp before you're approved to be a SEOG member. And we were a bit too young and our English was nothing. So we couldn't join the EPF. So they really wanted us to go in a cadet org. So there was still a cadet org open in Copenhagen. So they sent us there to Copenhagen. And I came here in February 2004.
Okay.
On a freezing cold day. And I was in t-shirt and shorts coming from Los Angeles.
Yeah. And your mom was posted here right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was posted in an organization that doesn't exist anymore, which is called New World Corps. In my understanding, they were supposed to be auditing the staff. Their job was to actually get the staff of the SEOG up the bridge. But that never happened. And I don't think it exists anymore. At least not in Europe. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of questions here. I just want to take them kind of at this point, since we were talking about the start. The SB chef Samuel is in the house asking, do you know how your mother came to be a Scientologist?
Yes. So my mother was married before my father with another man called Martin in Switzerland, and he got in Scientology. And at the time, my mother was making fun of him for being in this shady group, she called it, kind of like a cult. And she was making fun of him. And then at one point, I think she got curious and she started, and then she became very dedicated. And that's also where she met my father.
Okay. He's also asking, did you have to do book one auditing when you were in the Swiss org?
Yes. And I didn't do much of it because I really disliked it. And I clearly remember even telling my mother, like, I really can't stand this. I hated the fact of trying to repeat things and try to go back. I didn't have the patience for it, and I honestly didn't feel anything. So we stopped that.
Yeah. Can you shortly explain the audience what book one auditing is?
Yeah, when you say book one, it's basically the book number one in Scientology, which is Dianetics. And basically it's all about going into your mind and trying to find out past traumatic experiences and relive them. So the theory behind reliving them and trying to go over and over and explain details about what you see, what you smelled, how you felt, and keep doing it by finding more details every time until you feel like it's evaporated, that it doesn't have an effect on you anymore.
Okay, so basically,
if I was scared of a dog because a dog bit me, then now I'm very scared of dogs. So if I do a book one session, like a Dianetics auditing, I would go in session and the auditor would tell me, okay, tell me about the time the dog bit you. And I have to say, okay, I was in the park, it was sunny, it was bleak, it was blah, and I wanted to pet the dog and the dog bit my hand. Okay, thank you for this. Now go back to the beginning and try to tell me that again with more details. And you repeat until like, oh, you know what? But actually, not all dogs are the same. I feel really good now, and I'm not scared of dogs anymore.
Okay, and you were doing this under the age of 10.
How old was I? Yeah, I was around that age, 9, 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
okay.
you.
Okay,
Second
and
generation Scientologists often start all these things very early.
yeah, Amy is asking if you were put into a baby nursery like the others, but you
No,
were.
because I wasn't born in the Siog. I was born in Switzerland, so I had a normal life. Like I went to normal school, I had normal friends. My mother was hardcore Scientologist, so she was not very much present in my youth. But I was not in this nursery, neglected nurseries of the Siog. I came into the cadet org later when I was about 13, 14 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So you arrived to Denmark with your mother and your
My
brother.
little brother, yeah.
Yeah, in
On a freezing
2014.
cold day in Vesterbroggel, you know where that is?
Yes.
And we had to wait there in the reception for hours and hours and hours because they had to find a place where to put us to sleep. They
Yeah.
needed some, and I remember it was very, very, very late. I think it was like around 12 o'clock, maybe even 1 a.m. And then they told us we had to go to Corona. That is the name of the hotel, another hotel that they own, which is on all the way on the other side of the city.
Yes.
And they made us walk from Vesterbroggel to Corona at 1 o'clock in the morning in t-shirt and shorts on a winter day. And I
Okay.
remember that night so clearly, and I was very upset, and I
Yeah.
hated Denmark. At that point, I was like, I hate where I am. I hate Copenhagen. I wanted to be in Los Angeles. I didn't want to go away from Los Angeles at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds also kind of rough. It's a half an hour walk easily.
Yeah, it's a
For
half an hour walk easily, if not 40 minutes, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember we were crossing the walking street, and I was asking, we were with our recruiter, the one that recruited my mother into the show. And I was asking, when are we there? And he's like, yeah, we're soon there. And we were only in the halfway of the walking street.
Yeah.
That was really terrible. But then when we arrived there, I was put right away into a dorms with the other cadet orgs. Was just 2 bunk beds with 3 on each bunk bed, so we were 6. And the idea was that we were supposed to be only there temporarily, and then we would go back to America.
Okay.
Because I wasn't happy there, and so I was. We can talk about how actually I got smoothed into all this CO cadet org. Is that in the back of my mind, I always thought I would go back to Los Angeles. So I was like, all this is temporary. But while it was being temporary, I was also being groomed, and slowly I kind of got caught by it, and then I joined the COG in 2005.
Yeah. And you're saying you even had to share the bed. You didn't have your own bed to sleep in, or
So like I had my own bed on a bunk bed, so it was 3.
okay, 3
So the
high
bottom,
bunk
middle,
beds.
and top. Yeah, I was on the top.
Okay.
And that was the cadet org. Later on in the COG, I slept in a room with like 15, 17 people.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, so many bunk beds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it was like 6 bunk beds with 3, like 18 people, 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
That was later. That was in the COG once I joined the COG.
Yeah. Was that the first time you were separated from your mother physically?
No, we were separated when we arrived in Los Angeles right away, because in the COG you're not allowed to sleep in the same dorm as a woman, even if it's your mother. Girls and boys are separated. So that was a little reality shock for me and my little brother, because we were put in a room with 4 or 5 bunk beds, so that was like 20 people. No, 18 people, and they were all grown men, like older. We were kids, so it was a bit weird. I didn't feel very comfortable at first.
No, that sounds like a huge risk also to be putting small children with strange adults in the same room. Okay, so then you enrolled the Danish school at that time?
Danish school? No.
No?
No.
No?
No. The cadet org, which is all the kids of COG members, okay? Not anybody can just go in a cadet org. It's basically an organization, pre-COG, which grooms you to become a COG member. And those are the kids of COG members. They had their own school.
Okay.
But it was, as far as I know, it was not an approved legal school. They were doing... I learned English there mainly. That's what I did the most, and a little bit of math. But you do it on check sheets, which is you do your own step by step following a check sheet.
Yeah.
so which is the L. Ron Hubbard way of studying. So yeah, it was not an approved school, no.
No. But I'm thinking it's in 2000s in Denmark. You are obliged to go to school until you're 15 years old. So they must have somehow claimed that they had some people, educating professionals, taking care of your mandatory
I
education.
cannot tell you for sure, but I think an option is to do school at home.
Yeah.
So maybe they took that loophole. I don't know. It didn't even occur to me at the time to ask those questions. Honestly, I must also say that another big reason why I wanted to go to America is because I wasn't doing very well in school in Switzerland. I know why today a bit more. I was never doing my homework, and I had nobody really at home to actually help me or make sure that I was going through what I needed to go through at school. So I was happy to run away from that, and then school has never been my strong side. So
So you were at the cadet org with your brother then?
Yeah, with my little brother and about 10, 15 other kids.
Okay.
And the cadet org in Copenhagen is nothing like the ranch, like in Los Angeles. It's from the stories that I've heard, and also they promised us that in America we would go to a big ranch with horses, and we have huge fields, and we have a pool, and we're animals, and we're gonna be outside and have a lot of fun and all that. Those were just beautiful words to get us to say yes to come to the Sea Org. When we got into Copenhagen, our schedule was you wake up I think at 8:30, have breakfast, and then go to the course room. I think it was at 9. Then they call your name, you better be there. And then we had lunch. After lunch, I think we did another 2 hours of school. I say school, but school. And then we would go and help in the Sea Org organization to do some work. For example, I was then going to AOSH, the advanced org in Copenhagen, and I was working in the canteen, helping to fill up the coffee, clean around, and do cleaning stuff.
Okay.
And after that, we would go to have dinner, and then in the evening, we would go to CLO, which is the Continental Liaison Office, which is the management of the Sea Org. You have to understand that AOSH is a public. They deliver the higher levels of Scientology to the public. And CLO is the management of Scientology here in Europe, which manages all the organization in Europe, including AOSH. So then we would go there to do LOH study. We would study courses of Scientology. And typically those would be the courses that you have to do on the EPF, the boot camp before you join the Sea Org. So you would then be a little bit faster once you start the EPF, because then you would have already done some courses. Then we would go home at 10 and then go to bed and then repeat every day, seven days a week.
And at which age would you be eligible for the Sea organization and EPF, I assume, first?
There's no limit of the age.
In cadet org?
So there was no limit in the cadet org either. Kids were born there. And to join the Sea Org, as long as you can read and write and you're smart enough to go through the courses, you can join. If that's 10 years old, then you go for it. If it's 13, 14, I think the average was about 13, 14 that was joining.
Okay.
But for me, I was a bit later because I had to learn English. I was learning English, so I couldn't just join right away. Otherwise I would have been forever on the EPF, and that's not a fun thing to do. A boot camp is, you wake up at 6, you do hard labor, you run, it's a boot camp, and then you got to study, and you don't want to be there long. So I was trying to cut that as much as possible by doing the courses before I joined the EPF.
And you were staying in Nordland, correct?
No, I was staying in Corona, which is called Adelscale, close to New
Corona,
Hamburg.
yes. And Corona is located at the harbor in Copenhagen. And it was not renovated at that time?
No,
I mean, it looks very fancy.
Only only the first floor and the second floor of one side of the building was renovated because there was a fire. So they were forced to renovate it, but otherwise, no, it was not renovated.
How would you describe the living conditions over there?
It's all about what you compare it to. coming from Switzerland, it was disastrous. Like I really couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
Now Switzerland has a higher standard, but in general, no. For being Denmark is also has a high standard, but no. It was a very old building. The windows were really old, and the cold air would come through. It was no. And then bathrooms, you had to share bathrooms with SEAL members, like 20 SEAL members waiting in line for a bathroom, and you had to share that.
Yeah.
Because in each room you didn't have a bathroom.
Yeah. So what age did you then join the Sea Org or the go to
It was May 2005, so I was 15.
Okay.
What is it? 2005, so that was I was 16.
Yeah.
I was 16. I was 16 when I joined.
And how long were you in APF?
I think it was 4 months.
Okay.
And I did yeah. I'm not gonna go into technical stuff, but yeah, I did for 4 months.
Yeah. But that's a relatively long time in EPF, isn't it?
Yeah. Some people are longer, some people are shorter. For example, my brother, he was longer and he never made it.
Okay. Yeah. He didn't make it in the Sea organization. He decided
Lucky for him in some ways.
Yeah.
Unlucky in other aspects of it, but yeah.
Yeah. So did you also got married in the Sea organization?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I got married to a girl. Her name was Lorena, and she was born in the Sea Org. I just turned 19 when we got married.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of how it goes, because in the Sea Org they're very strict about sex, meaning that you can have a girlfriend and a boyfriend, but you can only hold hands, hug, and kiss.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Anything else gets you in a lot of trouble. And of course, as at the time we were 15, 16, you're experiencing, for me, it was the first time to really experience a relation with a girl. And of course, you get very excited and you kind of slowly want to go further after a while. And then we were told, okay, you got to get married.
Yeah.
So we did.
Yeah. But you have to wait in that case until you were
officially married. Yeah.
And so you were an adult. You could not get married before under the age of 18.
I think you can if you get consent from your parents.
Okay.
But I was 19 and she was 20, so we were adults at the time.
Okay.
So we got married in the commune of Copenhagen.
Yeah. Okay. And you were posted. What was your position at that time in the Sea
I was always, so once I finished APF, I've always been working in TU, which stands for Translations Units. It's LOHTU, L1 Hubbard Translations Unit. And that was a division or a department in CLO. And we would basically translate all the lectures and books of Hubbard. And my post title was the Routing and Tracking Officer, which basically means I was responsible to get the English from Gold or from International. Actually, it was called RCOMS, Run Compilations, which is where all the originals of Hubbard should be. And they would basically give me the originals of Hubbard and send them to me. And I had to put them on the production line to be translated in 15 different languages. So it was more of an administrative job. I would create folders with check sheets of each steps that the book has to go through in order to be translated, proofread, edited, typesetting, and all that stuff until it was sent to printing. And then I would also be in charge of sending them to near publications or bridge publications.
Okay. And at that time, was CLO located still in Copenhagen or?
Yes. So it was on Store Conquer Scale, which is a very, very... Store Conquer Scale means the big King Street. It's basically, in Monopoly, you have always like the most expensive hotels. That street is like that. You have all the most fancy hotels on that street. We were working not too far from the Queen of Denmark, where she lives,
Mm.
it's like a very expensive street. So it was center
Yes.
city, yes. And they own 2 buildings there.
Mm.
They have sold them since then for a lot of money,
Yeah.
for a lot of money.
Yes. And acquired some other buildings instead.
Yeah,
Big industrial buildings
yeah, but
outside
that's cheaper.
Copenhagen as
They're
well.
much cheaper than what they sold Stoke Skill for.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can
But
imagine.
yeah, Scientology has quite some real estate footprint here in Copenhagen.
Yeah, and maybe it's not really related to your story, but it's just I would like to pick your brain on what do you think the Scientology's plan is in Denmark, because they are acquiring so many buildings and building the base in all fronts basically here.
Yeah, so my opinion is, well, now that I know much more about Scientology, you know that Scientology is interested in money and power. It's really what it is at the end, to cut it short. And part of the money is real estate, a lot of real estate. So like Corona, which is where we slept, the hotels, it's also super center. It's beside Newhavn, which is the most famous harbor. When you talk about Denmark, you have this one picture of these colorful houses and that harbor. It's Newhavn, and we are just 1 block away from there. And they own 2 buildings there. Those are worth hundreds of millions, like a lot. And
Yeah.
the Vesterbrogade is also very center and very good location, and they own an entire building there. Then
Yes.
they used to own another one in Österport. They used to own an
Österport.
entire building there as well. Like
In Österport?
yeah, it used to be called what's it called? It used to be a Centria. That was the name, Centria. I don't know why. Beside the cemetery, but that was before.
Okay.
When I was in the cadet talk, they don't have it anymore. They sold it as
Okay,
well.
okay. I thought you knew about a building I'm not aware of.
No, they sold it.
Yeah.
And then they acquired some other bit more outside of Copenhagen.
Yeah. And so what do you think about you just think about it's building the real estate portfolio,
Yeah.
or do you think Denmark has a bigger role within Scientology in Europe?
Robert came to Denmark, but he did not come personally. But they came here because it was one of the only countries that didn't reject them back in the 70s. I think they arrived in 75 here. Because all the other ports rejected them.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole. It was said that the Sea Org for Europe was supposed to be in Greece, but Corfu, and they rejected them after a while. They didn't want them there anymore. The government kicked them out and kicked Hubbard out. And he got kicked out pretty much all around the Mediterranean. So Copenhagen was one of the only places that didn't kick him out.
Yeah.
Beside that, I wouldn't tell you why is here, because the funny thing is also UK is not too far away from here, and you can also go and do your OT levels there.
Yeah.
So you can either do them in Copenhagen or in UK.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think they're just amassing real estates. Yeah, because honestly, they don't have many Danish Scientologists. Huh?
No.
You would think they have the headquarters in Copenhagen. They have an ideal org in Copenhagen. The ideal org is like in the walking street of Copenhagen, which is a very famous walking street. It's the longest walking street of Europe. It's the shopping street, right? And they have an ideal org right in the middle. Like you couldn't ask for any better location.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I was there, and from what I see today, they don't have many Danish Scientologists. It's all foreigners. It's mainly Italians, Hungarians, Russians, like Danish, maybe 1%.
Yeah, that's correct. We are doing regular protesting there now every Saturday, and it's very few Danish people. And I actually talked with one couple of weeks ago, and he was not even. He was basically almost saying he could realize himself that he was being pushed to buy these expensive courses. He did not know who David Miscavige was. Apparently, it was all about the Scientology tech and L. Ron Hubbard that he was being taught about.
That's how it starts. When you get somebody new in Scientology, you don't go to the hardcore stuff. You try to. Scientology is self-improving. It's self-helping. You can better your life. You can become more productive. You can be more at cause, like they say, like more powerful, and successful, and that's how you buy in the new people. And once they're in and they had done a few courses and do a bit more of the hardcore courses, that's when then you like, you know, like you also get them to push to donate money, and like Scientology is not one shock. It really takes a little step by little step. It eats you a little bit, it eats you a little bit, and then suddenly you don't realize it, and you're totally stuck in there.
Yeah, I hope we caught him in time, because he was shocked to hear about what's going on inside Scientology. So let's see.
It's easier to know this information before, because once you start joining and you're around all these people that think the same way as you, it's a social psychology. You kind of adapt to that environment, and you kind of agree, and then the more you get pushed all this propaganda, you start to believe it, and then after it's too late. Yeah. Once you have accepted it, then it's very difficult to open your eyes and see it differently.
Yeah. So going back to your story and in Sea Organization, when did you start to have questions yourself about?
So, like
about
I said before,
yeah.
Like I said before, when I joined the CEO, I didn't have much. I didn't know who David Miscavige was. I didn't know the purpose of Scientology. I wasn't really much aware of that. All this started when I was in the cadet org, and our teacher was like explaining to us, and we were doing the courses, and you know, the small steps that I was just explaining, that was happening to me in the cadet org.
Yeah.
And then I joined the Sea Org, and then when I joined the Sea Org, everything is very hardcore, very hardcore. And by then I understood we were on a mission. We had to save the world. We had to clear the planet. And what we have to do is get the tech out. We have to get more people into Scientology, that they go up the bridge, get clear. And that was the purpose, to expand. And I bought into it. I was, okay, let's save the world. We have a mission to do here. Let's go. Let's do it. So I was working. And I was thinking, because I was in LOHTU, the translations unit, we were actually going to start what we call an evolution, which is a huge project. And those were basically all the basic books of Hubbard. Now, Hubbard has written a lot of books, and he has given a lot of lectures. But these ones were like the basics, the most fundamental books of Scientology. And I think there are 18 of them, 18 books. You have like The Way to Happiness, you have Dianetics, you have the SOS, Science of, I almost forgot all the names. I used to know them all by heart. Somebody can write in the chat, SOS, what does it stand for? The one with the tone scale. Anyway, a whole bunch of basic books and lectures. And this was David Miscavige's new project to release this at an event for LOH birthday.
Hans Christias. Yeah.
Thank you, Hans. And that was crazy, because that's when... so for me, it was like, okay, we have this huge project. It's super important. We're making history in Scientology. Once these basic books and lectures are going to be released, Scientology is going to do so well. It's going to boom. We're going to have so much more money. Finally, we're going to have proper places to sleep, proper uniform. I had like the same shirt for 2 years. I had 2 shirts for like 2 years. And like the uniform was, I needed a new pants. It was like a pain in the ass to get a new pants. They would never give me a new pants. Oh, we don't have the money. No, maybe next week. So it was super annoying. And so I thought, after the basic books, man, we're going to be rich. Everything is going to be better, and we're going to expand. We're going to clear the planet. And David Miscavige was micromanaging us in TU. He was basically writing to us almost every day. And these letters were, most of the time, were being read out loud at masters. And for anybody that doesn't know what a master is, we have 4 master in the Sea Org. It's basically like a military roll call. You line up in divisions, and your boss is in the front. Then you go into attention, and then the ethics officer in front calls each divisions to make sure everybody's present. And you have that in the morning, at lunch, at dinner, and then before you go to bed in the evening, 4 times. I hated those masters. That's also where you would get blasted, and you would get updates, and like, oh my God, yeah, I had nightmares of these masters. And also, yeah, whatever.
Okay, so was it like directly messages coming from David Miscavige?
Yes.
Signed by him, and you could see a copy of. Okay.
I couldn't see them because because TU was such on a hot seat because Miscavige
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know everything was happening. He was telling us how to do things. We had like all the high execs always in our offices. So if you know CMO, command messengers, I'm forgetting all the terms. It's good. I'm happy that I'm forgetting. Commanding the messenger, CMO. It's a high
Yes.
organization,
Yeah.
and they were always in our office, making sure that we had to do what Miss Cabbage was saying, and controlling and pushing and screaming and all that bullshit. So once we did that evolution, which was really hardcore, like many nights I was working through the nights and not sleeping, and it was hard work because we had to make a deadline. We had to finish everything by the 13th of March, and that was 2007. I believe it was released in the event of Elevage Birthday 2007. And once this was released, it was such a big deal. Like Miscavige even designed the promotion posters himself, and he said that we are making history in Scientology. And I was really pumped about all that. And I was like, okay, now it's gonna be good. Now we're gonna save the world. Um, yeah. Yes, present and accountant for. Yes, that's
Yes.
basically.
And David Miscavige's project, this is just one of his long list of failed plans, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So when that was released, I didn't have any questions yet. Well, I had some questions, but I put them aside. Like I saw quite some the way the management was being handled to push this evolution to be done. There was a lot of screaming, a lot of blackmail, screaming, slamming doors, slamming the table. You gotta get done. Nobody goes to bed, and all that was a bit like, why? Okay, yeah, okay, but this is because we have a high pressure and we have to make a deadline. And then, but if you really think of like a Scientologist should think, is like, okay, Scientology has all the technology in the world for administration, for any problem in life, to make superhuman, super beings. And if you think about that and you're like, okay, if we do have all the technology in the world, and we should be like able to have an office that's like super productive, super competent, super effective, efficient, like, and like, things would go smooth and like really professional, and like, like we had the tech, but it was the opposite. So that didn't make sense to me. And also some of those senior execs were higher on the bridge. So
Yeah.
another big thing was actually our commanding officer. His name was Walter Cartwright. He's an Austrian guy. He's really big, kind of scary. I hated him. He was actually on his OT7, and that didn't make sense because he was always screaming. He was screaming, blackmailing us, and he had a reputation of even hitting people. And he has hit. I heard stories. I have never seen it for myself, but I have heard stories of my friends that were in the cadet dog with him that got hit by him.
Yeah, and Robert Dam was telling about that as well. That he beat up a 10-year-old boy into basically a condition they should be going to hospital for.
Yeah.
So.
The first time I met him, motherfucker. Sorry, if I may.
It's okay. You can say whatever you want.
Motherfucker. He really traumatized me. So I just arrived to Copenhagen, and I was in Corona in one of the courtyards, and I was still with my skateboard at the time, and I was trying to build a jump. I think I was on a break time or something. I don't know. And he came around, and he said, "What the?" He insulted me, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like you're off purpose." And then. And I was like, okay, who is this guy? I didn't know who he was. He was big and scary, and he just like screamed at me. So I was like scared. Then the second time I met him was in the kitchen, and he was still angry. I don't know why, probably from something else. And he told me, your father should be SPD cleared. And I was like, okay. SPD cleared, it means he should become a suppressive person, which is the worst thing you can be in Scientology, is to be a suppressive person. Once you're a suppressive person, you lose everything. People have to disconnect from you.
Yeah.
And I was like, why does my father? So first of all, I don't even know my father because I never really knew him. My mother divorced him when I was 2 years old, and then we moved to the French side of Switzerland, and he lived in the Swiss-German side of Switzerland. And I maybe saw him once a year for Christmas, only for a couple of years. So I really did not know my dad.
Mm.
And I was surprised that he then says my dad should be declared, and I didn't know why. So that
Do
was
you
my
know
second.
why he was saying it?
Today I know why. I know the story why. I can say it later. But
Yeah,
that was my second introduction to this asshole.
yeah. Hans Christian
Walter
is saying
Krawczyk
that
is a
he is.
madman. Yeah.
Mm,
And I'm actually very curious to know where he is today, because he's not anymore the COCLO. He got
yeah,
busted. The rumors were that he was going to become an auditor in Flag, but I don't believe it. If anybody knows where he is or what he's doing, I would be very curious to know.
yeah.
I
I would
think
be
he
very
probably
curious
got
to know as
ending the
well
whole.
because uh, Balash has actually said that he has seen he's got an SP declare, so he's not in Scientology anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, but what happened to him, I don't know. The kind of reputation he has, I don't think there's any likelihood of him coming and speaking out as a victim of
No, no, no,
Scientology.
no, no. Oh no, no.
That's
But
not
his
going to
wife is still in Siog. His wife is
happen.
the CEO of New Era publication.
Okay, yeah,
So
probably ex-wife now.
I would like to know.
Yeah,
I would like to know. Yeah. Anyway, so wow, you have to remind me. I was explaining to me how I met Walter
about
Krawczyk.
your doubts.
I am my dad. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you. You have to put me back in track, because I often
yeah,
start to go into
yeah, yeah.
different
I have
routes.
the same issue, so it's
So we
it's
did this big release of the basic books and lectures, big success, and then the next evolution started for Miscavige, and that was the sales evolution, and we had to sell the basic books and lectures to everybody, to every name. You know how Scientology is like keeps sending you mail, like they keep your name and address. So we had to sell to all the names they had on their files. So you had to call and sell and sell and push, and it was such a hardcore push. It became nuts. It became so nuts. It really like that was where I was like, okay, this is messed up. 4 months after the basic books were released, people were selling, not sleeping at night because they had to make targets. And if they didn't make targets, they would get a bucket of cold water dumped on their head. Because there's a reference from Hubbard that says that if you don't, I don't know what it says because I know, but it's called overboarding. When somebody fucked up, you back in the days when they were on the ship, they overboard you, they push you off the ship. And they wanted to do the same here in Copenhagen, but they didn't have a boat, so they just wanted to throw you in the harbor. And they asked OSA if they could do that. OSA is the Office of Special Affairs. They handle PR and all the dirty tricks, the dirty stuff of Scientology. And OSA said, no, we cannot do that in Copenhagen. It would be too a black PR, it would be a bad image. So instead, they decided to use a bucket, cold water, and just dump it on the head. And that was happening, and people were not sleeping. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. People were being punished, not sleeping, going to clean bathroom, like doing all the worst thing you can imagine, trying to really punish people in a disgusting way, just because Miscavige wanted us to reach targets of selling. And they were so desperate that even like CEO members were starting to, with the little money they have, to buy the basic books and lectures just to reach some targets. And some CEO members were a bit more wealthy than others because they have money from family or something. And I remember always seeing them trying to be handled by a CEO member to donate to a library or donate to something just to make sales. And they was like selling to each other. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And that was wrong. And then one day we get a letter from David Miscavige. And that was the turning point for me. Like all these out points already was like, okay, something is not right. And I thought management is messed up. And then that letter came from David Miscavige. And in that letter, he said, it was about 4 or 5 months after we did the release. He said, we made more money with the basic books and lectures in the last 4 months than the last 10 years combined in Scientology. So I was like, wait, in the last 4 months, we made more money than the last 10 years combined. And I was like, what the fuck? That's huge. How come we still have like what we still have to fight to get a uniform? Why we still have shitty food? Why we still have all these things that those basics needs and like our pay, we were getting paid 50 crowns a week. That is about $6.50 a week.
Yeah.
That was our pay.
Yeah.
It is
About $30
nothing.
a month.
It's nothing. No, it's $7, $6.50 a week. So
Yeah. So 28
okay, you're right.
per month.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
It's
You
good
said a
to be
month. You said
precise.
a week. That is
Yeah.
nothing. And with that, you had to buy
Yeah.
your toothbrushes and your soap and basic needs.
Yeah.
Condoms if you were married, because no kids in the field.
Mm.
So that was like, I thought about getting more pay, and that never changed. Nothing changed. We're still getting the same crappy food. There's still a problem to get uniform clothes, get proper living conditions, proper pay. Like, and for me, it's like, okay, that's not right. And that's when the big click happened for me. I was like, okay, management is corrupt. But I still believed at the time in the philosophy of Hubbard and the technology. I still had hope that you could still become a superhuman, even though I've never fucking met a single superhuman in my entire life. And I was born with Scientologists, and I was then in the Sea Org, and I never saw any of them. And then I originated that I wanted to leave. So did my wife. We were not allowed to talk about it, but we did anyway. It's a crime to do that.
So
we
you
did.
were discussing with her about the questions you had regarding
No.
validity of
No,
things
actually,
you were doing.
no, you don't. No, we didn't speak about details. It was just like he also felt that it was nuts what was going on with the sales evolution and all that. And actually, she already tried to leave twice prior she met me. But she's born there. They had her hand on her. She never made it. She also doesn't know the world outside. So for her, she was always very, very, very scared. So
Yeah.
she never really made it to get out. So when I decided, we said, listen, I want to go out. She said, I also want to go out. So, okay, so let's write to the ethics officer together that we want to go out. And then we did that, and then we got put on separation order right away. So meaning I cannot see her, cannot talk to her. We don't sleep together. Like, they want to handle us separately, so they have more power over us. And then later they would use each other against us to try to stay.
Yeah.
And then my boss of the translations unit, she was like hardcore doing the sales, not sleeping. I think she hadn't slept for 2 or 3 days. And then she came into the office, and my office was in the beginning of the big office of TU. So people that walk in and out had to go via my office. And she came in, and she looked at me, and she got the news that I wanted to leave. So she came to me, and she started to scream at me. She started to blast me. And I was scared because she was my boss. But while she was blasting me, she was falling asleep. And I was shocked. And she was about to fall on the floor while we were mumbling and like kind of sleeping like this. She hadn't slept for 3 days. She was totally gone. And I felt bad, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, she's blasting me, but she's falling asleep. It's very awkward. And then there was a CMO executive, CEO CMO actually behind, screaming at her. Come! Her name was Monica. Monica! Come! And then she like woke up, and she had to go to Monica, and the door slammed, and she was getting blasted for something, I don't know what. And I was like, okay, this is fucked up. And funny thing is that the next day she actually blew, meaning she left without authorization.
Yeah.
She actually went away the next day.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe it. She was blasting me for leaving just the day before, but the day after she went away.
Yeah.
She
Because
got
you're not
declared.
allowed to show your true.
No, that's right. You're not allowed to. You have to always pretend that you're the most hardcore SEAL member. Yeah. She got declared because she never came back to handle her. She just left. And she did good. Yeah, and then I got put on manual labor, and I had to go through a program that the ethics officer gave me, a long program. I had to read references, do conditions, do OWs, overwritten whistles, which is you write down your crimes, form, time, even whatever. I don't even remember all that shit. Super annoying. And I did everything that I had to do because I wanted to leave the Sea Org in a good terms, because my whole family is Scientologists, and I didn't want to lose them. So my entire goal was, I want to leave the Sea Org, but in good terms. And I wanted to also kind of still be able to do Scientology, because at the time I was still thinking like, I want to also go OT and be powerful and all that. I still had hope for that. But It took me 9 months to leave the Sea Org. It took me 9 months, and I was doing manual labor work during this time. Then they were begging me to come back on post in TU because they really needed me, and so I agreed to help if they would help me to get a security check. I was missing a security check, which is when you go on the e-meter and you get
Mm.
security check. They ask you questions. You have to go through that if you want to leave the Sea Org to make sure that you're not hiding anything. And they would not give it to me. They would not give it to me because they didn't want me to go. I did all my program, but then I missed the security check, and they just didn't want to give it to me. So I made some deals with some execs, CMO execs, that okay, I go back and work in TU to help if I get my sec check. But they fucked me over. That never happened. Months went by. I was writing reports to security. I was writing reports to RTC, which is the highest organization in the Sea Org, Religious Technology Center. It's the office of David Miscavige. I was writing them, listen, I want out, I want out. There's a policy that says that if somebody wants out, they have to be out in 48 hours. But that, of course, is never applied. And I was doing everything I can to go out on the correct terms.
Yeah.
And never happened. And then what did I do? Apparently I pissed off an exec in CLO. The one that's under the commanding officer is called the deputy commanding officer. So I said something to her, and she got very upset about it. And I don't remember what I said to her, but I pissed her off. I said something because I was at the end of my rope, and I pissed her off, and she got so angry to me that she said, okay, this guy has things to hide, put him in a sec check, and let's find out what he's hiding. So that is the way how I got my sec check. I did my sec check in 2 days. I had almost nothing to say. Like, I was a teenage boy, pretty much innocent, like.
But it's incredible.
The sec check started by me confessing 3 of my biggest crime, my biggest withhold. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't have anything else in my head. Like, okay, what else? She goes through her list, maybe a few little things, but then I was done. I was done in no time. And I was like, okay, so now I can go. And then now we need you to get a final approval to get the fitness board signed. Once the fitness board is signed, you can leave. And guess what? They never signed that fitness board. They never signed it. And I had arguments with the DCO CLO, the deputy commanding officer. And she then said, but I think you are out int, which means, what does it mean to be out int? It means that spiritually you left your body, but you didn't come back in your body properly. And that's a state in Scientology, which is called out int. And for that, you have to do a session to fix that. And I was like, I'm not out int. You're just trying to find reasons to not let me go. And then I struck a deal with her again, saying that, okay, I would do the check if I'm out int. So you go on the e-meter and they ask you questions and they look at the needles and they check if you're out int. I said, I would do the check. If I'm not out int, you sign my fitness board and I'm out. If I am out int, then I do the procedure. He said, okay. I go and get the check and I am not out int. Weeks goes by and she never signed my fitness board. She never did. And I kept writing reports. I kept asking for help. I kept writing to security. Even I had a friend in security, and I was like, "Come on!" And he was in agreement with me. He was trying to help me, but at the end, it was not his decision.
How long had it been going on at this point? From the moment you said 9 months.
9 months. 9 months. And then one day, the ethics officer calls me in her office, and she says, "Here's a new program. You have to do this." And I lost my shit. In my head, I was really, really angry. I was in the room where she had the e-meter in front of her, and she was telling me like, "Listen, you're gonna have to do this program," and blah 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 blah. And I was like, "You guys don't understand. You don't understand. I want out." And inside, I was really furious. Like I was gonna explode, and I was imagining taking the e-meter and smashing it on her face. Good thing I didn't do that, but that's really what I felt like. And then I was like, okay, I don't have a choice, and I was suffering. I was suffering being there. I was already stressed of like what I'm gonna do in my life. I don't have an education. I didn't finish school. I don't have a diploma, but I know that I have to get out of here. I'm going crazy. So the next morning, I took a small backpack and I packed a little few things that I had, and I walked out of Corona. And that was the 1st of June 2009. And I clearly remember that day. I walked down Court Adelsgeld and I looked backward one last time and I said, I'm out of here. I'm out of there. And I went. Luckily, I had a friend that left the Sea Org a bit
Yeah.
before, and I knew where she lived in Copenhagen. So luckily, I went to her because I had nowhere else to go. I knew where she lived. She was not home when I arrived, so I was on the street waiting for her until she comes home. And then she came home in the evening, and the first thing she does, she was shocked to see me, and she calls security, like a good Scientologist. She calls security and she says, "I have Cyril here." And luckily, the security was my friend that she was speaking to, and he knew that I wanted out, and he knew that I did all my steps, and he was like, "You know what? Let him stay there with you. Let's see until when they realize that he's gone." And I said, "Cool, cool, cool." So I stayed there, and it took them 2 weeks to find out that I was gone, and and that's because my wife, she had an ethics interview, like one of those interviews where you have to confess all, and it came up in there that I had left because I told her that I was leaving the next day.
Yeah. So
And
basically, it's so difficult to be leaving, being in the process of routing out of Sea Org,
it's
that
super hard.
to some people it's easier to kind of numb your mind and just stay,
Yeah.
because you need to fight to get out.
Yeah, if I can add, during that time, those 9 months, we were separated with my wife. They managed to handle my wife. So my wife decided to stay in the Sea Org. She did all her conditions. She got back in good standing, and then they tried to use that against me.
Yeah.
And because I haven't seen her for a long time, then they got me to meet with her. Actually, I was in Smetland, where the new CLO is.
Yeah.
And I was doing dishes there, and then a high ethics officer, came with my wife to talk to me and said to me, she wants to stay. You can be together if you also decide to stay. And he pressured me and tried to manipulate me in staying. And I kind of caved in, and I said, okay, fine, I'll stay. But then once they left, I was like, no, I'm not. Who am I kidding? But I was like, I felt so bad with my wife because I loved her. And I was like, okay, you know what? Later on, I told, I respect that you want to stay, but I can't. So if you want to stay, I respect it. We get a divorce. I'm very sad about it, but I cannot stay. And then she's like, no, I also don't want to stay. So she also wanted to leave. She still wanted to leave. They were just manipulating her. Like, anyway. So
do you think she still wants to leave today?
She left the Sea Org.
She did?
She did. Oh. Yeah. She left 1 month after I left. No, 2 months. She actually left 2 months after I left, which I was very, very surprised, very shocked that she actually made it. And she did something similar than me. She just took her bag one day and she took a train and she left. At the time, 2 months later, I was in Switzerland then, and she gave me a call and she said, listen, I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm taking the train and I'm coming. I'm like, really? I couldn't believe it. I was super happy. I had no idea what time she would arrive in Switzerland. I was like at the train station waiting for her the whole morning.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it that she actually made it. And I think a big part of it was because now she knew she had somebody in the outside that would help her. So I think she was a bit more strong this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did I want to say? Yeah, that's how I left. After the 2 weeks, they sent my fitness board. They understood that I was not going to come back. And then the security called back my friend and said, it's okay. He can go back. He can go to Switzerland now. Because I had nothing here in Copenhagen. So I went to Switzerland and I went to my father, which I didn't know. And I got to meet my father and got to know him for a bit.
Yeah.
Trying to build a life for myself there, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. So at this time, your younger brother was already out of.
Yeah, that's correct. He was already in Switzerland. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your mother, were you talking with her at the time when you were trying to route out of the Sea Org?
While I was trying to route out, I think I had 1 or 2 conversations with her. Yes. And yeah, nothing special. She was trying to understand, and not more than that.
Okay. And when you went back to Switzerland, you were still a public Scientologist, at least.
Yeah, I was a freeloader.
Yeah.
I was a freeloader because I have to pay now back the CEOC for the courses that I was obliged to take.
Yeah.
So when I arrived to Switzerland, my first priority was to make money, but I couldn't find a job. I didn't have an education. I did not have a driving license. I had nothing. I had nothing. I tried to apply for some jobs, and it didn't work out. Even to clean toilets, I had to have a certificate of some sort. So for a year and a half, I think I was helping my father. He was building a house beside his house, so I was doing that. And honestly, it was a good therapy for me because he lived in the countryside, and I could just like relax, cool down, have the beautiful countryside and breathe, and not be in a CEOG anymore with this strict schedule. And I thought it was really fun to actually build a house, to see the progress of building walls. And I got to know my dad, and I would finally talk to him and got to know who he was and ask him why the COCLO thinks he should be he should be the SPD cleared.
And you found out?
I did, yeah. I did. My father used to be a very wealthy real estate guy in Switzerland. He was doing well, and he was helping. He's a very dedicated Scientologist, and he was helping the Basel org to move into a new building that was bigger and that was better. So he purchased the building, and the two first floor were the org, and the org had to pay rent to him, and then he had other floors on top, which were apartments that he was renting out to normal people, and I think some were public Scientologists. And he had a loan on it, and that's the real estate. That's how he was doing it. The problem was that the Church of Scientology of Basel were not paying their monthly rent to him, so it was difficult for him to pay back the loan at the bank, which started to create a problem. So he was paying with his own pocket, but at one point he didn't have any more money, and he couldn't pay the loan anymore. And even though he was reporting this to RTC, saying, "Hey, we're gonna get in trouble here if the org doesn't pay me rent," RTC didn't do shit about it. Nobody did shit about it, like usual. And then the bank told him, "Listen, you have to sue them if they're not paying you rent." And my dad was like, "Well, I can't sue them because if I sue them, how am I going to get SPD cleared? I'm not allowed to. You're not allowed to sue another Scientologist." So he was in a sandwich, and he couldn't do anything. And yes, Basel is where the Eurovision was just
very important comment. Yes.
Yes. Beautiful city, Basel. I lived there when I was a kid until my parents divorced, and then I went to Lausanne, the French side. So
Samuel is also living there, and your brother, right?
Yes, that's correct. Samuel and also my little brother Cherry lives in Basel.
Yeah.
So the bank comes and grabs the building, and that's a disaster.
It got repossessed.
Yeah, that's a disaster. Of course, it goes all the way probably to Miscavige. Big problem. And so finally they do something about it, and they get another rich Scientologist to buy it back.
Yeah.
And that went on the lines of COCLO, which is Walter Cortrid, and therefore he thinks he should get declared because he made this disaster. He got the bank to take the building again, and they had to fix it. So that's why he wanted him to get declared. At least that's one of the reasons. Might be more reasons, but that was the main reason.
Yeah.
It's very dumb. It's really stupid.
Yeah. Directly something related to Scientology and their own fault would be blamed on someone else.
And then also my father got in a lot of trouble. He lost a lot of I don't know all the details, but there were a bunch of Scientologists doing a big investment, and that investment went wrong, and whoever was doing the investment killed himself, and then he was responsible. Him and another partner was responsible to pay back all the debts, and those were millions of Swiss francs. So he since I don't know, I think it was in the late 90s, he has been working to pay off his debts.
Okay.
And so that's when I got to know him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a bit of a
So,
special guy. He's not very talkative. He's not very responsible towards family and kids. He's very weird about that. He 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 never did anything for me beside letting me stay at his place and have food.
mm,
But then for me, he thought I should figure it out by myself to get a job and to whatever I'm going to do with my life.
yeah.
He didn't teach me how to drive. He didn't teach anything. It was like, and he would never
Mm,
talk. And
no.
I always had to ask questions, and I'd always had to pull it out of him. He would never be somebody that would easily tell you everything. And yeah, he's a bit special.
Yeah. Did he end up leaving Scientology?
I don't know. He's still a
No.
dedicated.
Okay.
All his purpose was to go back on OT7, but before he could do that, he had to pay back the debts to the Scientologist, and that's what he has been doing for the last 30 years. It's
Okay.
been his focus is to pay back the debts so he can continue on the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But you are still able to communicate with him, or
No.
no? Okay.
No, he actually a few years ago he went into a mental breakdown, I would say.
Mm,
I don't have more details because he doesn't talk. I know that he stopped talking to his wife. He has a new wife.
mm,
That he even stopped talking to his wife for like 2 years, 1 year and a half, like no words, like a zombie.
yeah.
And that he doesn't talk with the rest of his kids. He has other kids. Before he got with my mother, he has 3 other kids
Mm,
that live all in Switzerland, and also with them, no communication. And then something happened. He fell, or he was unconscious, and a helicopter had to come and pick him up. I don't know all the details, but he wasn't doing
mm,
good. And I think honestly, he had a mental breakdown, and I don't know how he is today.
okay. Yeah.
And since I'm speaking out, they're not allowed to talk to me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to reach out to him a few years ago, but no answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It seems to be a little bit fluid with the rules. That's why I was asking from you, because some people there has been some bargaining between.
Yeah, no.
Uh,
Probably my father's probably happy that he doesn't have to talk to me. He's not the
mm,
guy that likes to talk.
yeah. Okay. But
It's sad. I feel sorry for him. I feel bad because he dedicated his whole life to Scientology, and honestly, I think he got fucked by them so many
yeah.
times, and I think he doesn't see it. Or maybe he saw it now and he's like got into a depression. I don't know. He has donated so much money. He has some original books and original e-meters from the days that he got by donating money. Because when he was wealthy, he was donating a lot of money.
Mm,
He was the typical dedicated Scientologist that gave his whole life. He didn't join the Sea Org, but he gave everything. His kids went into the Sea Org. His ex-wife went in the Sea Org. My mom went in the Sea Org. I went in the Sea Org. Like, he gave everything.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. But he was there for that moment when you needed it the
Yes,
most, and
yes. But I must. It's not that I want to be mean to him, but it was mainly his wife that like said, "Listen, we're gonna take him in until he finds his way." His wife
okay.
she's a very nice woman, also dedicated Scientologist, also on OT7, and also doesn't speak to me anymore.
Okay. Yeah. So you were in Switzerland for how long after you left Theo?
3 years,
3 years.
2 years,
And you were working the
2 years
whole
and a half.
time?
So for the first year and a half, no, I was helping my dad, and then my big sister, she found a job for me in Zurich, cleaning in a hotel. So I took that and I went to clean in a fancy hotel. And finally, I was making money, the most money I've ever made in my life, even though it was minimum wage.
Yeah.
And with that, I paid my freeloader bills back to the Sea Org. I bought my basic books and lectures, which I had to. And then I did my conditions to become in good standing with with Scientology to be in a good standing. And I did all that. And after that, I was like, okay, I cannot clean hotels my whole life. I was 21, 22 years old at the time, and I was like, I need to study something. I need to need to get a better job, and I see that I need a diploma, I need something. And because my Swiss German was not strong enough, my French, I didn't feel confident enough to study. At that time, I felt like English was my strongest language. So I was like, if I study anything, it will have to be in English.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to die. And I thought, okay, English, I can study in English in Denmark. And
Yeah.
plus, in Denmark, the education is for free.
Yes.
Maybe I could have made it work in Switzerland. I just didn't know how things works, and nobody helped me or explained to me. In my mind, it was like, okay, I go back to Denmark, I get an education, and we take it from there. And so with my wife, we went to Denmark, and in 2011, we came back. And it was quite tough because we didn't have a place to stay. So we were sleeping on floors, on friends' couches, and like for 3 years, 2.5, 2-3 years, going from apartment to apartment. It was really terrible.
Wow.
And I luckily found an education that I wanted to do, which was a computer education, was a information technology international education, which is the basics of computer, and it was international, so it was in English. So I was super pumped about that. The only requirement was that I had to have a diploma of a high school or a school, but I did not have that, and I was like freaking out. I was like, okay, I'm going to sign up anyway, but hopefully they will never ask for it.
Yeah.
And they never did. They never asked for it, and I was so grateful for that. And it was a part-time study and a part-time internship. So I had to find a company that would hire me as a student, and I was lucky enough to find one, an international company in Copenhagen. And that's really when I started to like wake up, because then I started to work in a Danish company. And I was like, holy shit, that's a huge difference from the CEO. Like, luxus. It was something totally different. And I really started to then understand how the real world works, how people behave, how do you work, how you treat each other, how you do things. And, like I was learning all that.
Yeah.
I had
And
no
I
idea.
assume that was the first time you had more contact with Danish people, because in the Sea Org,
and also outside the bubble of Scientology.
Yeah.
Because all my friends and family was Scientology, yeah.
Yeah, because Scientology is 90% not Danish in Denmark.
I would say 98.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're going even further. Yeah.
Yeah, like even in the Sea Org, like we were in the Sea Org, I knew 3 Danish SEAL members.
Yeah. Out of
4.
5. Yeah.
Out of I think it was 600-700 at the time.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah. It's a different environment. So I understand you had a culture shock when you returned to or came to the Danish work life.
Yeah. And in the Danish are very known to be very work and family balance, or like life balance.
Yes.
And you have to understand that for me, it was a shock that I was allowed to take breaks, and I could leave earlier if I needed to. By simply asking my boss if it was okay. In the Sea Org, should I need to do any of that because of going to the dentist, I had to like write a CSW, a completed staff work, which is a paper that asks for permission, why, who's gonna replace me when I'm not gone, and give all the details, and get my senior, my boss to sign, my boss to sign, my boss to sign, and my ethics officer to sign. It's like an impossible thing to do and a headache to do it. So like it was very, very difficult to even do anything like that, especially in the Sea Org. And there it was so easy. But anyway, going into that culture and meeting people, I started to really see that, my God, like the Sea Org was terrible. Like they don't have shit of technology. They are chickens without heads. They run around. They don't know what they're doing. They work a lot of hours, but they do a lot of useless stuff that could be optimized. It could be much better. And I quickly realized, like in the Danish company that I worked, we were working less hours, but we were getting more done than what the SEAL members were doing in like 12 hours. And I was like, that's... And slowly, I also had then access to the internet, and slowly, I think, okay, that doesn't make sense. And there's too many red flags that were popping up, too many red flags. And then I started to look at some interviews online for whatever I could find. And I remember finding Marty Raspern, interviews about him, and I was totally shocked. He was the right hand of David Miscavige, and he was like the second in command of all of Scientology. And the things he had to say, it was like, wow. So it's really like that everywhere. Like I was shocked, but at the same time, I was not shocked. I always thought that, okay, maybe in Europe is messed up, but where David Miscavige is, it's international. They're up there high. They have like, it's everything the best, and it's actually the worst. It was even worse than Europe. Yeah, and then slowly. But I was still kind of, I was still surrounded by Scientologist friends. I was still with my wife. I was still very much into the bubble, inside the bubble. And then my brother one day sent me a documentary, like, you have to watch this. And that was the Leo Remini, the aftermath, the Scientology and the aftermath.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, it's like, that was like, okay, it's just a confirmation of all the things that I thought in my head, all the red flags that I've seen. And I was like, I'm not the only one. It's actually happening everywhere. And actually, I just needed somebody to confirm it. I needed to see it from people that were experienced, that went through the bridge, that were in the Sea up there, high up, that were with Miscavige and all that. And actually, about Miscavige, he once came to visit TU after the evolution we had. He came to TU, and I was super scared because I was scared that he was gonna go by my office, of course, because I was the entrance, and I was scared that he was gonna ask me questions. Yeah, because Miscavige was like the holy lord at the time.
Yeah.
He's with all the letters he has written, you understand he's very strict, he's very tough, he blasts you, he's very like
unpredictable also.
Unpredictable. And he came through the door with the COCLO, Walter Cartwright, and David Miscavige is a little guy, huh? He's small. So like I saw him, he's actually a bit smaller than me. And I'm 173. And Walter Cartwright, the COCLO, he's tall. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he's a huge guy. And he was walking beside Miscavige, and they're like, little guy, fucking huge guy, like. and Walter Cartwright was behaving like a little dog that was beaten, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, this is so weird. I've never seen Walter Cartwright behave like this. He was like, like this, and like, yes sir, and he was like trying to lick his ass, like. And so we had a server room in TU that crashed, and we lost a lot of files because there was no backup. That's the level of like, they were so stupid. Like, of course, in a server you should have a backup, but that's the level of professionality in the CEO. It's so dumb.
Yeah,
until something becomes a disaster, short-sighted.
Yeah.
Until something becomes a disaster, they won't fix it. Once it's a disaster, they will fix it, and that's the mentality in the CEO. So Miscavige was very, very, very pissed about this servers that crashed and we had no backups. So Walter Cartwright got public Scientologists to donate money to make a server backup, which is super weird. Why don't you take your own money, because it's management, it's you stuff. No, he got people in ethics and people that had to make up conditions and give money to. And he was so proud to show this to Miscavige when he came by. And the server room was just beside my office, like literally the door was right beside.
Yeah.
And I could see Walter going, sir. He was opening look, and now we have the backup, and this is the server, and it's all done properly. And Miscavige was like, good. And then like Walter Cartwright walking behind him to TU like a beaten dog. And I was like, no, that was a huge red flag for me as well. I was like, okay, that's not right. That doesn't make sense. I understand today exactly what was happening. Yeah.
So he when you saw him, he wasn't like a figure of authority for you. Did you have a sense when he was around? Did he have a presence of
Miscavige or the COCLO?
Miscavige.
Yes, he had a presence because he came with his entourage. He had a lot of people around him, his assistants and I don't know who. We don't ask who he was.
Yeah.
But they were very intense. And they went to a TU chief, which was my boss, the department head of TU, and he asked her a question, and she didn't understand it, and she asked him to repeat it, and he repeated the question. I don't remember what the question was. It had something to do with languages, because we were starting to translate the books in now pioneer languages, like weird languages that are spoken like very far away from Europe. I think it was like Taiwanese and like some African language and like the not the main known languages in this world.
Yeah.
And he asked a question about that, and she couldn't answer, and she didn't understand. And then her assistant got really angry and like kind of blasted her and tried to rephrase it. And her answer didn't work out really well, and they were just angry and they just left and they were all pissed. That was
Okay.
really weird and awkward.
Yeah. But I've understood that some people, Tom Cruise had to give up a girlfriend because she could not understand David Miscavige's
Yeah, I
accent
heard,
or
yeah,
dialect.
yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
heard that too. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he's a very control maniac, and he was micromanaging TU, and per
yeah.
LOH policies, which is what Hubbard says, you're not allowed to jump the command chain and
Mhm,
go over everybody, and you handle a department by yourself. And
mhm,
Miscavige does this all the time. And that in Scientology, it's called it's a danger condition. He's
mhm,
bypassing all the command line and going directly to fix it himself. And he should never do that. He should
mhm.
use the line of the bosses to fix it, because otherwise the organization would never survive if he never fixed the problem. And
Yeah.
he's doing that all over the place with
Do you
all
think
the
that's
projects
like
he's involved.
paranoia
Yes,
that he needs to? Okay.
yes, yes. He really thinks that he's the only one that is capable of doing it, and that everybody else is just incapable, and he has to do everything. He really thinks he is the savior, and he has to do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that is also the mentality that we were very often in the masters in the CEO. We were being blasted for not getting things done fast enough, and they would always use this. And Miscavige, he has to do it himself, and he has to write to us, and he has to blah, blah, and he works more than we do, and he gets more than done. So you get your shit together. Like it was always speeches and blasts like that.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
so it was also a cultural thing. Like you felt it as a CEO member. It was yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So you returned to Denmark. You
I
got
returned
a
to Denmark. Yes,
education. Got a
education. I do my
yeah.
education. Took 4 years. I finished. I'm super happy. I started to be more aware of the real world.
Mhm,
I had a super mega awesome boss in that company. He really,
mm.
in some aspects, he saved my life.
Yeah.
Um, I can't thank him enough. He was really good. I was going through a divorce with my wife at the time. I was kind of slowly creating distance with Scientology. Um, and I never traveled the world really, so I wanted to travel the world with a friend, and I asked my boss if I could disappear for 4 months, and he let me go for 4 months. And with one of my best friends, we went to the US, and we went to Mexico, we went to Switzerland, we went to Italy, we traveled, and it really started to open my eyes to see other countries and see the world. And like I haven't seen the world before that, and
Mm,
I was amazed, and I was like, the world is so much more than what was told in the slogan in Scientology. It's so
mm,
narrow-minded in Scientology, but it's not like that. It's a beautiful world. There's everything of everything in this world. There's everything of everything.
mm,
And yeah, slowly I created more distance. And then, like I said, my little brother, he told me to watch this documentary. That documentary did the click for me. I was like, I got, I got, I got robbed. I got robbed. My teenage life got robbed from me.
mm.
Um, I then told my mother, which was still in the Siog, listen, because she kept pushing me to like do seminars, come on course, do Scientology courses, and I was like, yeah, not really. Come to events, and I was like, mm. Didn't want to say no directly, but kind of trying to avoid it because I didn't like it. So
Yeah.
then, when I watched that documentary, I told my mom, I don't want anything to do with Scientology anymore. Like, I want nothing to do with it, okay? And she kind of respected it. She was very sad about it, but she respected it. And she kept a very neutral connection. I could feel that it was fake at times. I think she was just trying to keep a good relation, but it was not real conversation we were having. And then I met my new wife, and then what should I say? That helped a lot. Also, the fact
Mm,
of seeing what a normal family is, and how she grew up, and how her parents behave as a family is like totally opposite than what I experienced. And in one way,
yeah.
I'm very lucky for that, because I think that saved me in some ways. and then I got a kid, and then my first son, and my mother could barely come and see him, which was really annoying because how strict the Sea Org is.
Yeah.
And then
Did
I
she?
thought
Sorry, just to interrupt. Did she at this time still? Do you think it was difficult for her to maintain the relationship because of Scientology, or was she out of her own will trying to take distance towards you? Was it because of I don't
Scientology.
know.
I don't think I don't think it was her own will. No,
No.
no, no. My mother is funny in this way. No, I think I think also today. Yeah, no, I'm not 100% sure, but I tend to lean towards that if she could talk to me, she would, even though I have I have spoken out.
Yeah.
But I think they are pushing her very strictly to not talk to me.
Yeah.
But in the other way, she must hate me because of me speaking out. I can
Yeah.
imagine for her, she's so dedicated. She has dedicated her whole life. She has dedicated her kids. She has dedicated everything. You know, we never went on holiday when we were kids. Never. It was always
Mm.
Scientology, Scientology, and Scientology has always been the priority number one over the kids.
Mm.
For her now to have her kid to speak out against Scientology, I think it must be very painful for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I was also getting very upset with when COVID happened, and they were so paranoid with COVID. They were so paranoid, like crazy paranoid, and I couldn't see my mother, and she couldn't come, and they were wearing gloves and masks, and like going really hardcore about it, and disinfecting the whole organization with their chemical product Decon 7 it was called, to kill all bacteria, and like they were very
Mm.
proud that they were using this, and they were doing this every day, but it was very unhealthy to breathe this in. But you know, like
Mm.
this is another paranoia from Miscavige that he said this has to be done. And even when Denmark lifted all the restrictions and that COVID was basically done, they kept going with gloves and masks and measuring the temperature and being paranoid. And you know, I was like, there's a concept in Scientology is that if you are PTS, potential trouble source, it's because you have done bad things in your life, so you attract problems, and it's very, very dangerous to be PTS because then you just attract problems and you create problems, and that's the worst thing you can do. So when you connect it to somebody like me, that is a suppressive person, or somebody that speaks out against Scientology, you are labeled a PTS person. So you either have to fix it or disconnect. That's what Elwish says. So if you base this technology of L1 Hubbard about the PTS, then you shouldn't worry to wear gloves or mask, because if you are PTS, then you get sick. But if you're not PTS, you don't get sick. That's what he says.
Yeah.
That is
Exactly.
honesty. That's the whole mentality of Scientology. And yet they were the most paranoid of any organization that I know of.
Yeah. Amy is saying, I thought they didn't believe in germs.
Exactly, they don't.
Mm.
Because if you are not PTS, the germs do nothing to you. But if you are
Mm.
PTS, then the germs do something to you. And being PTS is the worst thing you can be in Scientology after being suppressive person. So you also have to fix if you PTS.
So that would mean that David Miscavige is actually the biggest PTS,
Yeah.
being so afraid of coronavirus.
And they also said that in general, Scientologists are not very strong on vaccines because, again, with that same mentality, we are cause over our body. We can control our body, so we don't need that in general. Now, there are
Yeah.
Scientologists that do believe in vaccines and do vaccines, but most of the part, including my mother, she's very anti-vaccines. But Miscavige kind of got all the SEAL members to get vaccinated. He ordered that because he was paranoid. He also has a history of asthma problems, David Miscavige. So it would make sense that he's very scared of COVID. And so yeah, all these things don't make sense. It's just a red flag. They don't even apply their own philosophy.
Yeah. So your mother got to meet your oldest son?
Yeah, 3 weeks after he was born, finally she came for like an hour or two and got to meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that, very, 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 very little. I started to get into trouble regarding Scientology. You know, when I said I want nothing to do with it, but then I wrote an Instagram post. I think it was in 2021, because of the way I got out of Sea Org and I didn't have a place to stay, and I kept being from couches to couches and from apartment to apartment. I saved all the money that I was making. That's what I was doing. I was saving every little crown that I could, because my dream was to own my own home. And then finally in 2021, I made it to buy my own apartment, which I'm very, very happy and grateful for. Finally, it's my own home. And I made an Instagram post about it. At the time, my wife was pregnant, and I was like starting a life. I was feeling good, and I felt like, wow, I'm kind of making it. Proud of myself. And I made an Instagram post, and I was saying a little bit about my story, like where I came from. I was in the Sea Org. I got out of the Sea Org. I was in debt. I had no education. I had no money. And now I saved all the money that I could. I got a job. I got an education. And finally, I now have a home that is mine, and I can never be kicked out of it. And that was my Instagram post. And because I mentioned the Sea Org in that post, because that's where I came from, and I didn't mention Scientology. I just mentioned the Sea Org, and that I had no money and that I had to pay money back. I got a lot of shit from my family for that. And they wanted me to take down the post. They wanted me to change the words. They didn't want me, like, also my friends. And I was like, wow, like, and I got very angry for the paranoia they have about this little bit of the story that was Scientology, but the point was about me having a home, and me accomplishing this. And that really pissed me off. It really got me angry. And then slowly there, some of my sisters started to not talk to me anymore. And then my mother, she still talked to me, but then it became very superficial. She tried very hard to get me to get it done, but I said, no, I won't. And then at some point, they all started to not talk to me anymore.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. By then, I was very also, I knew a lot about Scientology. Then I had read some books about it. I read the history of Hubbard. Now I understood much more of his craziness and where it came from and why was that and why things are like that. It's the unofficial biography of Hubbard by, what was his name again?
Is it the Barefaced Messiah?
Barefaced Messiah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the writer. I remember the name of the book.
Right here. Yeah.
Someone will know the name for sure.
Yeah. But the Barefaced Messiah, and you'll find it. It's the unofficial biography of Hubbard, and it's very interesting. Yeah. And Hubbard had a crazy life. I mean, he's a very interesting person, but he was also crazy, and he also had his own issues. And he does hold the world record for the most published written books and lectures. I mean, like, he has some props, but he was crazy. He had his issues, and he did go totally crazy at the end. And yeah.
And he didn't walk the talk at all.
No, he did not walk the talk at all. No, that is also true. Yeah.
And
thanks, Samuel.
I was going to bring it up a little bit later, but yeah, absolutely okay to.
Then I got much more educated about it, and then also going on YouTube, and I was like looking at other interviews, and then the internet was just like booming, you could find so much on the internet now, and I was like, wow, and it was driving me crazy, and I felt so bad that I had friends and family stuck in there, and I kind of woke up from it, and I felt so bad for all my friends and people that I know that are still there, but I also know how the mentality is when you're inside there. It's so difficult to get people to think properly. It's so difficult to explain it, but it's a psychological trick. It's a psychological what do you say, like a bad thing, like unfortunate. But once you believe it and you're in there, it's so difficult to get your mindset
like a hypnosis, basically. You're in a trance of
It's basically brainwashing, even though we don't like to use that word. But you're mentally washed. You only think one way because you're also surrounded only by those people that think the same way like you.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then so my family stopped to talk to me, and I haven't done really anything like really suppressive yet. But my mother was trying to get Oza to fix me, and Oza was like, we were writing emails, and she wanted to meet me, and I was like, I don't want to meet with you. I don't have any interest. I know what your job is. I know what's going on. Like, let's just keep it like that. You let me alone. I leave you alone. But she insisted, and then she insisted that she wanted to clarify all this misinformation on the internet and what I have heard and what I have read. And the usual bullshit.
Yeah.
So
And was
then
this after the Instagram post?
yes, that
Yeah.
was after the Instagram post. And then she told me, like, tell me some questions you have and I'll clarify them for you. So I asked about 10 questions, very random, some about Hubbard, some about the Sioux, some about why Miscavige blind, why he says this. And she never answered me. And I was like, okay, good. She understood that those questions are too difficult to answer.
Yeah.
Then from there on, my mother totally stopped talking to me.
Yeah.
And then totally, like, then I could feel that, okay, something is happening. And that was pissing me off. And then I tried to reach for my mother, and I was going to the org, and I was trying to reach, and they wouldn't let me see her. They would pretend that she was not there. They would not give me the phone to her. And then I was so pissed that I was like, okay, I basically lost my mother. I lost my family. So I have nothing else to lose. I'm just going to go out and tell my story then. I'll speak out. The reason why I wasn't speaking out is because I still kind of holding on to my family connections. But I was also very upset that what happened to me and what Scientology does to kids, it's so disgusting. They take advantages that I wanted to make my story known.
Yeah.
So she then actually called me just before I did my interview with Evan Smith-Levin, growing up in Scientology. And she told me in that call, it was a very weird phone call. I could feel that somebody was listening in, and she was saying to me, basically, she was forced to make a very, very difficult decision, that it was very tough for her, and that I wanted to ask her what it was about. She said she cannot talk about it, but I knew what it was. And then she said that she understands that I've been looking things online and that I've been in communication with some very, very bad SPs. And I was asking her, what are you talking about? How do you know? Can you tell me some specific? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I haven't talked to anybody online or like, yes, I was in communication with some SPs, that is true, but nobody should have known about it because it was hidden.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find out from her, how do you know and who told you and how come? And she would not want to tell me specifics. She says, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. And I was like, in Scientology, one of the things you can do that's really bad is to talk in generalities. When you talk in general, and that's actually a characteristic from a suppressive person, is when you talk in general and you're not specific. And I told her, listen, you're being very general here. Give me some specifics. Tell me who, what, because right now, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't be able to give me any specifics. She was like, no, I can't. No, I can't. This is what it is now. I'm very sad, and that's what it is. And I need some time for myself. She asked to have some time because I was trying to reach out and I was calling, and she said she wanted some peace and she wanted some time for herself.
Okay.
And I told her, okay, fine. I knew deep inside that she was going to disconnect from me, and that was what she was being faced with. And I told her, listen, I understand that you do not understand what I'm doing now and what I will do in the future, but know that in my world, in my head, it is the right thing to do. And I know that you don't understand that, and I know that you don't see it that way, but I want you to know that that's the way I see it, and I'm doing the right thing for myself.
Yeah.
Just so you know. And then I wished her the best, hoping that she would call me again to tell me her decision, but that never happened.
Yeah.
That never happened.
So that was the last conversation with her.
Last conversation, that was October 2022. No, 2023.
Yeah.
2023.
And was it right after that you went on growing up in Scientology?
Yeah, 2 weeks after I went on his channel and I did an interview. And since then, I haven't heard from her, and I did try to reach out several times. I did try to show up at the org, and they won't let me in. They won't let me see her. They tell me that I have to leave, that she's not here, but she's here. Sometimes I get different answers. She's on a project. No, she's not here anymore. Yeah, she was here, but I don't know where she is right now. I got all kinds of different bullshit answers. And I asked.
And you got some publicity last year. Actually, it's almost a year ago now.
When you gave
when you gave an interview to Berlingske in connection with Robert Damm's book. So there was actually not just the YouTube exposure, but that's actually one of the biggest newspapers in Denmark, and they did a front page story.
yeah, I didn't know it was going to be front stage, and I didn't know it was going to be that big. But yeah, it was. Yeah. It was,
And
yeah.
you were in TV, Danish TV, also in.
Yeah, that's right. I also went on Go After in Denmark the day
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that might also have something to do with the.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
fact.
No, like I'm in the eyes of my mother. Unfortunately, I'm like Hitler now. She, she, the organization and her will see me as the most evil person in the world because Scientology is the only hope to save the world.
Mm,
Actually, not just the world, the universe, the galaxy. So the
mm,
fact that I'm working against them is like the worst crime that anyone could do.
mm.
So I feel really bad for her because I know that's how she looks at it. But
Yeah,
me, having been inside there, having been brainwashed, having been told all this and learned and read LOH, and now being outside, I understand now. I understand how they manipulate you. I know how they tricked you. I know how it's all a mind trick. I understand that it's basically a cult, and I understand much more about it. So I know what I'm doing is the right thing, but she doesn't know that.
yeah,
And I know it's tough for her to have a son that's speaking out.
yeah. So you have tried to reach out to her at the org. You have called.
Yeah, I tried every. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I even asked. I even asked the Justice Chief, which is a post title in the SIOG. He's responsible to all the people that are SPs in Europe.
Mm,
And I asked him, am I declared a suppressive person? Because technically, in Scientology, if it's not written, it is not true. That is a policy
yeah,
from Hubbard. If it's not
yeah,
written, it is not true. And
yeah,
I have never received my suppressive declared in writing. And technically, per policy, I should receive that.
yeah.
But they don't give it out anymore because I think it's a bad image. And Scientology is paranoid with image.
Mm,
Paranoid with image.
mm,
It couldn't be more paranoid than anything else. It's about image. So I asked him, listen, am I declared or what? Because my family has disconnected from me. Nobody's returning my calls. Nobody's reaching out. His answer was, you know what to do. If you want to come back in good standing, you have to do the A to E steps. And
mm,
what that means in Scientology lingo is the steps to become good again from after being after being declared as a suppressive person. It's a bunch of steps that you have to do that you can come back in good standing.
mm.
So he didn't directly tell me that I'm declared, but he's implying that I am declared, and if I want to come in good standing, I should do those steps.
Yeah,
So I kind of understand that I'm declared, even though it's not in writing, so it's not true.
mm,
And I'm still trying to get in contact with my mom. I would like my mother to tell me in person, listen, I am disconnecting from you.
mm.
I think I need to hear it from her mouth.
Yeah,
I need that confirmation. So therefore, I'm still reaching out to her. I even went to the police to ask for to be done a check on her. It's a
mm,
bit tricky here in Denmark, especially with cults. They're very, very well aware of Scientology and that it's a cult, and that basically per Danish law they can't do much because she's there with her own will, and as long as I don't have a report that she's being abused or hold against her own will, they cannot do anything about it.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. And this is something that is extremely frustrating because we know that there are things happening over there that could be considered or are considered as abuse also in Denmark.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
let's say
they hide it in
allegedly,
their
but we
building.
know. So, but they have their security to
Yeah.
not to keep people out, people
Not
out of
keep
their
the outside
building, but
in, that
yeah,
too. But it's mainly from the inside to keep them inside to not go out.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I understood police would require for you to have some information before they could do anything
Yes.
in order
Yeah.
to check on your
Yeah.
mom. But if
Unfortunately,
we're
yes.
talking in very general terms, I know that you're aware of some cases where there has been actual, health risks and risk of,
Oh yes.
yeah, losing life inside the
Yes.
sea or also in
Yeah.
Denmark.
Yeah. In Denmark, I know somebody that since I did the interview with everyone, people reached out to me that are under the cover,
Yeah,
like undercover, that kind of like don't want to say it, but
yeah,
that are watching, that are also not Scientologists anymore. I have a good friend that his father was dying in the Sea Org, and they were not taking care of him, and he literally had to go and pick him up and bring him to the hospital, and they found out that he was going to die within days if they didn't bring him to the hospital.
Yeah.
And his life is saved now, and he's an old man, but he's okay now, but only because the son decided to do something about it, not because Scientology was doing something, they weren't doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
And there are some stories, and I really hope that one day those stories actually do come to light. Because Scientology has a problem on its hand. When those older generation of Scientologists are passing away, the younger ones that have suffered from their abuse will start speaking out. And I know quite a few. I only spoke out now because those are fucked it up for me and got my mother to disconnect and my family. So they forced my hand.
And we're going to be here to support and help and listen to them when they are ready to speak out. I'm not trying to, create any kind of expose or sensationalize things. I just want people to understand that this is not happening only in USA, like they like to tell me in Danish Scientologists like to tell me that it's only in the USA. That's not correct. The abuse is happening over here. And if Scientology starts to push or intimidate or pressure us too much, we might just have to point out where it's happening and what has happened. So
you have to find the loopholes, but they have to be careful. And that's another thing. I'm so grateful for people like you that go protest and that actually stand there. And also very often, I try to see if I get to see my mother or if somebody sees my mother. Because I don't know where she is at the moment. I think they took her away from Osage where she used to work for that reason.
And that has to be a personal disaster for her also, to be taken off her post of many years and be put away because she cannot be seen.
For all I know, maybe they moved her to America.
So that's why I really wanted to talk to you today, is that people understand, even the Danish audience, that this is happening here as well. So thank you so much for coming. There's a lot of comments and questions, so I think I will just trample most of them up.
Sure.
Just want to say thank you to Samuel for gifting some memberships, because that helps also to get the audience coming back and checking out our weekly protest, because we're doing every Saturday protest against Scientology, and we got a good team together. Thank you so much, Samuel. Haggis Basher is asking the boot camp, so EPF, what does that entail?
Okay, basically you have to become ready to become a SEAL member, and they say you have to confront MEST. MEST stands for Matter, Energy, Space, and Time. You have to be able to face the hard work that needs to be done, and it's mainly physical work. So you do the disgusting cleaning garbage, cleaning toilets, sometimes constructing or demolishing, like heavy labor. And they want to toughen you up. They want to teach you that no matter what you're facing, you're gonna get it done. There's no like, I don't know how to do it. Oh no, I'm a bit scared. No. There's no other way. You just have to get it done. That boot camp is to make you tough and to get shit done. And so you wake up very early. You do all this manual labor, hardcore. You run projects, so you get them done fast with the team. And then you have to run everywhere, and then you eat, and then you go on course, and you study LOH, and you do those 5 basic courses before you become a SEAL member. And from there on, it's just like, then you go to bed at 11, and next morning, 6 o'clock a.m., same thing. You work, you take a 5-minute shower, you go back, you eat really quick, you go. It's like you're always running, you're always in a stress. It's like to make you ready to be a good little SEAL member.
Separate the wheat from the chaff, basically.
Well, but honestly, they even take the weak because they're desperate and they need. And the weak can be used in for other things in the Sea Org. They have so many buildings. The maintenance needs to happen. Cleaning needs to be happen. They need people to cook. They need people to give food, like all this basic stuff. And they use maybe the less competent ones to do those jobs.
Bianca is here saying that the New World Corps was supposed to audit staff up the bridge, and you could earn them coming to your org by going St. Hill size.
Yes, that's what I also remember. It was supposed to be a separate organization that was supposed to, because that's the other thing. Okay, if you go back to the mentality of Scientology, we have the technology to make super gods, superhumans, like the best, most effective, productive people by making them OT. Well, if you're a little bit smart, wouldn't you audit all your staff and SEAL members to OT, so then you have the most powerful army in the fucking world to do the best job in the world and expand Scientology, and that is not happening.
Yeah.
The SEAL members and staff rarely get auditing or go up the bridge.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
they get it for free. They don't even have to pay for it per policies.
Yeah.
And even some of them, SEAL members, I remember some SEAL members that were working in my division were paying because they wanted to go up the bridge and they had the money because they were rich, but they should get gotten for free. But if you pay, then okay, it's all
Yeah.
about the money. And
Yeah.
so then they had this organization called New World Core where we're trying to push this to audit staff, but it didn't even last very long. It
Yeah.
lasted, I think, a few years, and then I don't know what happened to it. But for sure, in EU, there's no more New World Core. And my mother was, when they closed that organization, my mother went to AOSH.
Yeah, but that would actually expose the whole scam if they would suddenly notice everyone OT in the Sea Org doesn't have any kind of superpowers.
That's maybe also true, yeah.
Yeah, Hans Christian is asking about Corona. Yes, that's the hotel next to the where the speed ferry used to come from Malmö before there was a bridge. So,
yeah, it could be. Yes, there used to be a ferry there. Yes, but it's literally beside Newtown. Yes.
Yes.
And funny enough, Corona was overpopulated. Like we had so many SEAL members in that building, in those two buildings, and so we were so cramped. And legally, we had to have fire alarms in each room, and they would go off and on because of somebody taking a shower. All those people taking showers and the humidity, or like an old lady trying to make coffee in her room and like something burning. So many times the firemen came, and we all had to go out on the street by the harbor, and it was such a bad image because there was so many people for the amount of SEAL members who work for just two buildings that the ethics officers were telling us to spread out and go and take a walk in the middle of the night because it happened during the night. We sleep during the night.
I wish I had been around back then. I would have.
That would have been great YouTube video,
them.
man. Like, it was so out PR and like it was so illegal, the amount of people that were living in there. So illegal.
Yeah, I heard there were. It's approved for about 400 people, I think, and there were living 800 there at one point. So.
Yeah, like I told you, I slept in a room with like 18 people. It was super cramped.
Yeah. So, but now they have another location, so they don't have so many people staying there.
Yeah, they bought a new one in Karlslund. Yeah.
Yeah. Bianca saying at Black we were told we were the shitty cadet org, and the Intrans was the ideal cadet org. But the stories from the Intrans are horrifying.
Yeah, and probably in the internet they were saying that in Flag they were the good cadet orgs.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think you dodged the bullet by not having to go to the Intrans.
Yes, no. Listen, I heard stories after, and I was like, oh my god, I dodged the bullet. Actually, lucky for us, we didn't end up in there. I have a family member that was in there, and I got abused physically.
Yeah.
Physically abused in that Intrans.
Yeah. Samuel is asking, did you have to have a special permission to get married to your former wife? I mean, you were both adults.
Yeah.
Do you still need to get a permission to marry?
We had to, yes. We had to ask for, they were kind of pushing us because they could see that because at one time I was touching her legs and I got in trouble because I touched her legs. And that became like, you go to ethics, blah, 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 blah. This is called heavy petting, and they're so paranoid about this. So they're like, okay, you guys have to get married before you go too far, because if you go too far, then you either go to the RPF or you get kicked out of the field. Yeah. So they were like, okay, you have to get married. So we had to write a CSW, completed staff work. When you want something, you have to ask situation, data, and solution. I don't remember the form. You have to write it all down and get it approved by your bosses and the ethics department. And there was no problem in getting it approved because they kind of told us to get married. But yes, we had to ask for permission.
Yeah.
My wife, my ex-wife, Lorena, she actually used to be in CMO, which was the higher organization above CLO, which where I was. And we liked each other, but we couldn't be together because of the different organization.
Yeah.
And then she got demoted and she came to the same level as I was. And that's when we started our relationship. And we were very happy about that.
Okay.
But we still had to ask permission then.
Yeah. That also goes against the human rights that they are really trying to promote on Instagram. You for
Listen to
human
me.
rights.
Scientology are hypocrites. They are
Yes.
hypocrites. From bottom to the top. They are hypocrites. They are fake facade. They're scared of their image. They want all the good PRs. They hate the bad PR. Like, they're paranoid. They don't make sense. Sometimes they really do not make sense.
Yeah. Hans Christian is saying here the Apollo docked in Denmark, but without Hubbard, and a lot of the Sea Org people were then initially manned in FOLO. What is that one?
FOLO is the division that actually takes care of all the orgs in Europe, if I remember right.
Okay.
They run the orgs in each country.
Yeah, and Pops DK is the current new era, right?
That's correct. I believe so. It's a publication, yes. And then AOSH, which is the Advanced Organization Sentinel, which is where they deliver DOT levels to the publics here in Copenhagen.
Yeah. Talking a little bit about the front groups of Scientology, I only realized yesterday that the CCHR also has a unit or an office in Denmark as well. It's just called something else here. It has a Danish name.
It's super tiny.
Yeah.
But yes, they have to have the way to happiness. They have to have human rights, anti-drugs, narconon, CCHR, way of happiness. I don't remember them all, but it is super tiny here in Denmark.
Really were you pressured to get involved with those when you were in the Sea organization? Were you pushed to be participating in some marches or being at a stand at a square or something like that?
When in the cadet org, I think we did something like that. Yes, I don't really remember, but yes, in general, yes.
Okay.
It's not pressured. You have the order and you do it. You don't ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. Because I saw at least that the pictures I've seen, it's mainly Sea Org members and some youth, children.
Yeah, if David Miscavige is now freaking out that we're not doing this good enough, then he orders to go and sell some books or says do that. Or
yeah. Let me see, where was I? Here. Okay, so Samuel is saying the longer you are in, the more you find yourself in an echo chamber and will only hear the same opinions and views and perspective and the ability. Lose the perspective and
you're totally correct. That is exactly what it is. And it's very, very unfortunate that those people inside cannot think critically. And the thing that is even more crazy is that they do think that they are smart and they think critically. But they don't see the smoking mirrors. It's a crazy.
It's a total mindfuck. I mean,
it is.
That's what it is.
Because when I remember when I was there, like people told me like I was brainwashed, and I was like, I'm able to make my own decisions. I'm a big boy now. I don't brainwash. I'm saving this world. Like I know exactly how it felt to be in those shoes. I know like the mentality. It's like we wish there's something you could tell to such person to get them to click. But unfortunately, there's no magic words.
The
only thing you can do is be there for them, help them, try to plant some seeds, be polite, be nice, trying to explain to them like, okay, maybe there's this, but there's also this viewpoint, and you have to be very kind and open-minded and have patience. Using force and using insult it's only going to reinforce them of their belief.
And that's something I've also grown to understand, that it's better to have a conversation, and even better if you can speak a little bit of their language, so to speak.
No, if you can come to their level, that's the best thing you can do.
Bianca is saying that she knew some people in Flag that were routing out for 2 years.
My aunt, the sister of my father, she was on the RPF in Flag for 12 years. I think she might have the record for the most years in the RPF. And at the end, they kicked her out. And she came to Switzerland when I was in Switzerland. So I got to meet my aunt then. And the crazy thing is, RPF, they have to run everywhere. They don't have a minute of break. She was doing this for 12 years, and she was doing all like the stages, and she was working with a lot of chemicals, and she got very sick because they were not
Yeah.
using protection. And in Scientology and in the Sea Org, they don't care about your health because
Yeah.
technically you're a spirit and you should control your body.
Yeah.
But when she came to Switzerland, and she came also to my father because she had nothing else, and she was running everywhere. She couldn't stay still. Like, it was crazy. And she didn't know how to use a tablet and a phone. Like, she was like a little kid. I had to teach her.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was wow. It took her years to be able to calm down. Like, this thing was so implanted in her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
What
today she's
about
a very
yeah?
dedicated Scientologist.
Yeah.
48, I think now.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay.
crazy thing. Is like they still are in the Scientology mindset.
Yeah. What about the RPF in Denmark? Was it visible to you?
Yeah. I saw them all the time as a cadet because they were around Corona and around Nordland, and they were all
Yeah.
in black, and they were always in the basement or doing all the hard construction work and running, and they were always eating the leftover food. So because the cadet dog was beside the kitchen where the SEAL members were eating, so we would see them coming and eat the leftovers and do the cleaning, and I even saw the sleeping arrangements in Nordland. They were sleeping in Nordland, and they were sleeping like in the attic, and they were.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it. I was so shocked. It was a one bunk bed. It was like, I think, 8 beds with 50 centimeter of space between each other. It was like a Holocaust. It looked like beds from the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And some were even sleeping on the floor with no mattress in the attic. The attic has no good isolation. It's like,
It's
yeah,
great. Like a
I was appalled.
concentration camp
It
in
is a mini
year
concentration camp. It is.
2000 and what 2008 9 in Copenhagen.
Oh yeah, no, even later.
Even later.
I think they canceled this in 2014, 15. They say they canceled the RPF. I don't know if it's really true, or maybe they do something else. No, but that was going on for till maybe. I remember my mother telling me that it's finally canceled, and I was already mentally out of Scientology. So actually, it was probably 2016, 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And working in the basement, which was not maybe 1.5 meter high maximum. I understood the
Yeah, it depends
basement
which basement. Yeah.
in
No, but
Nordland.
listen, this is slavery. This was pure slavery.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to talk to you. You can only if you address them. And yeah. Yeah, they look like shit. They look so unhealthy. Skinny, baggy eyes, like gray hair, and like, yeah, no, yeah, but most team members don't even look healthy when you see them now.
No. Wow. But it needs to be said that, I mean, this is just a small glimpse, a memory to you, but it's important information to be put out there.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
you have, now we have 38 people here that have never heard that before. And, they can relay the information going forward because, Scientology is doing their best to deny this.
Yeah.
And,
What they do with Scientology is they pretend that they're a religion. So they say, oh, you're a bigot, we're a religion, even though they're not recognized as a religion at all. And they try to take that pedestal that they're a religion, and everybody's attacking us. But they are abusers. They are abusers, they are manipulators, they are liars, they fake it, and they're paranoid. I wish we could be filming the SEAL members and their faces. I wish you could really do that, because you could see the state they are in. You could see that the ways they walk. You can tell when a person is healthy or unhealthy. You can look at them and you can, okay, that person is healthy. That person is unhealthy, or that person looks like on drugs, or that person looks like he has some problems in his body. And I'm telling you, if you will be able to film those SEAL members walking from when they go to eat, like it's right there. You see it.
Yeah.
They can't hide that.
No, and I can see it with my own eyes. It's not people that are in good physical shape.
No.
And I'm not talking about body weight. I'm talking about the wear and tear of standing for decades on your feet. More than around the clock. It ruins your body completely.
But also the lack of sleep mess you up.
Yeah.
I remember, because I didn't have much sleep, especially in TU. We had often all-nighters and working at night, and I was sleeping like under my desk on the floor, like a few hours. I unfortunately experienced that, and I remember once I got very sick, and when you're sick, you have to go into an isolation room, and you have to stay there until you're not sick anymore. And I remember there for 3 days I was sleeping, 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 and during those 3 days my body grew. I became taller. I couldn't believe it. And people like, "Whoa, you grew, you grew." And I did grow. I could also feel it, and I became a bit taller. And that happened in 3 days.
Yeah.
I was just sleeping, sleeping, sleeping. My body needed recovery. My body needed to rest. I was never resting enough.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. Kathy's saying all you survivors and the atrocities that were done to you that was considered normal is why us never-ins are doing what we can do to end this cult.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really have a great appreciation for those never-ins that actually do stand up, for all the ones that are not able to stand up. And in all this, I'm very lucky. I consider myself very lucky. There's not many kids like me that made it out and kind of made a life for themselves. I know quite some friends that are out of the Sea Org but are still Scientologists and are not doing well in life.
Yeah.
Like maybe they consider doing well, but like, like they're still very mentally stuck, and they could do much better. And I'm very lucky. And also I'm very lucky to have met my current wife that, I have now a family that is caring, loving, that is there for my kids, that is there for us, that what a normal family would do,
Yeah.
And not many of those kids can say that.
Yeah.
And
Did
it's
you
very,
get help from therapy or some other kind of support? Did you ever reach out to get some
yeah,
help?
I did reach out. I did something a little bit with the Aftermath Foundation back then,
Yeah.
but it didn't really work out. I didn't like the therapist. And then I did one here in Copenhagen, and it's a bit difficult for me because I grew up my whole life like those are the enemies. They're bad. They don't know what they're doing. And, when you
Yeah.
grow up with that, and even though today I know it's not true, and like it's still very difficult to like mentally like, okay, separate this. Don't think like
Yeah.
a Scientologist. But yes, I have, and it's been very interesting. It's been good, helpful, and eye-opening.
Yeah.
But it's expensive also. It's very
Yeah.
expensive. So it's not the thing that I will do every week, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I'm learning from it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Bianca is asking, considering Sea Org members can walk around the city in Copenhagen, how common is it people just walk away? At Flag and other places, you have to climb up a
Yeah.
fence to escape.
True. Nowadays, they travel with buses. Now they don't walk anymore.
Yeah.
Since they moved to Karlslund, they go because it's further away outside of Copenhagen. It's in the south. They go with the bus. Now, I do think that some AOSH SEAL members can still take their bike and bike to Corona.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there are people that do blow, which means to leave without permission. But it gets found out so quickly because they have 4 masters a day. So right away, okay, if that person is missing, check airports, check trains. They have their drill. They know what to do. They know what to check. And very often, those people that are leaving, their mindset is very confused. They are very still like, yeah, but I believe Scientology, but management is maybe all messed up, or the CEOG is all messed up, or they're confused and they don't know, and they're not the smartest in escaping. Very often, you find them again. And very often, you're also like, hey, we're going to declare you, so you're going to lose everybody. So they come back and then they try to fix them or do.
Yeah.
But it is true that technically it would be a bit easier to run away here in Copenhagen than in Gold-based international management or Flag.
Yeah. But then if we say the Sea organization is 99% not Danish, you only know
Yeah.
Scientologists. Where are
Yeah.
you going to go without money if anyone you reach out to will report you right away back
Yeah,
to
exactly.
security?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you have to be smart. You have to probably know a little bit about the world, and yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's just another thing that's so awesome that you guys are out there protesting and not be aggressive, but like we are here for you in case, we are here whenever, we can help you. People have donated money to certain foundations, if it's the Aftermath Foundation or the SPTV Foundation. Like, it's awesome that there's two different foundations that you can get help from and start in your life. And just the fact that you say that in the back of the mind, like they will have a stone face, because that's what they have to have. Because if they don't have a stone face, or if they talk to you or have interest, they are straight into ethics, they're straight into trouble. But deep inside, maybe they do like, that's a seed. They're like, if I do want to live one day, I just gotta. There are people out there to help me, and the fact that just that gives so much more power and confidence for somebody to say, you know what, I'm gonna leave. Because they always say, what are you gonna do when you leave the Sea Org? They always threaten me, like, you're gonna go flip burgers, you're gonna go. They always. You know why they say that? Because Miscavige was saying that.
Yeah.
And it's such a cultural thing. Whatever was being said at INT, it came all the way to fucking Europe, and the SEAL members and the ethics officers were saying the same thing whatever INT was saying. It was such a monkey see, monkey do, so stupid.
Yeah. And
they would
I
make
know
you feel
that
bad. They would say you would go on drugs, you would do this, you would go flip burgers, you're not gonna make it. It's very tough out there. There's wars. It's people are evil. You're not gonna survive. They're really trying to scare you away. But if you are there and you plant a seed and say we're here for you, I'm telling you that you have a bigger chance to get people to come out.
Yeah. And Balazs, who was in Sea Org and was trafficked to Denmark, he said that, in his worst moments, if there was someone outside, he would have reached out for help, but there was no one out there offering it. So I do believe that it can happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I wish the foundations were there when I left.
Yeah,
I really wish. I mean, I struggled. I needed help. I could have used help.
Yeah, and at this moment, I would say that if anyone wants to leave the Sea Org, if anyone knows someone who wants to leave the Sea Org,
or even Scientology, it doesn't have to be the Sea Org only.
Yeah, also Scientology, but especially in the Sea Org, I have some resources and connections for being able to be handled confidentially, where you can potentially get assistance setting up your new life, even without the foundation.
I'm willing to help as well. Like especially if I have ex-friends that need help. I mean, if they need to be picked up, if they need anything, I will for sure help.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. So anyone wants to reach out, you can always do that, and it will be confidential and no questions asked.
Anonymous.
Yes. Bianca's just saying, I also had few years of contact with my mom that was very shallow and neutral because she knew I was critical. It felt awful. It was like,
it was no connection, and it was yeah, it's so sad, but it's also when it's not real, it's becoming so heavy, and it becomes so what's the word for it? It's so it's annoying. It's heavy. It's not real. It's fake. Yeah, I feel you, Bianca. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Amy M is asking if you have more than one child.
I do now. I have a little daughter. She's 1 year old.
Yeah.
So I have my son that is turning 4 years old next week. Exactly in 1 week, with the 24th.
Okay.
Exactly in 1 week. He's turning 4 already. And then I have a little daughter. Her name is Daphne. She's 1 year and 5 months.
Yeah. So you managed to make your difficult upbringing into a success story and have your own family now.
I hope. I must say it is a challenge because once you grew up in such a heavy cult, I battle myself a lot. Like, okay, what is Scientology mentality and what is myself? But I think it's going good. I think I'm learning. And I get very emotional about my kids because it's just so. I look at how I had it and how they have it and how I want to protect them and how they are growing up. I'm proud, but I get emotional, and sometimes it's tough. And but it's great. I'm busy with them, and I try to spend the most time I can with them.
Yeah.
I try to be we are very present with them, and I'm very happy for that. My parents were not present for me.
Yeah. Bianca's saying, do we have any update on Robert's book in English? I have not talked with him about that recently. So
I thought they were doing it, that they had to go.
yeah, I think so too.
I
I'll
heard
need
that
to,
they had to go.
yeah, I need
So
to send him a message and ask when it will be going out.
very
Uh,
cool.
yeah, because this year will be big in terms of book releases. There will be hopefully Robert's book released. Jamie Mustard is also publishing his own memoir. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. It will
No, I've heard
be,
about it, yes.
yeah, in the summer.
Okay.
He has had a very, very rough upbringing in
Yeah.
Scientology. So
Yeah, I've seen a couple of interviews of him. Yeah.
yeah, and then a new celebrity has left Scientology called Joy Villa, who
Joey Villa.
who is yeah, also who has written a book as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
great. It's great.
yeah,
I'm seeing Joy Villa at an event here in Copenhagen. She was, because her ex-husband is Danish. He's a famous photographer.
okay,
And I
okay,
saw, she was kind of, for a while, she was in Copenhagen here. She was hanging out with the Scientology people, the bubble.
okay, okay,
I'm happy to see that she's out. I'm very
yeah,
happy. And yeah, go girl. That's all
yeah,
I can say.
yeah. I was also trying to ask her because she's now talking also on behalf of the Sea organization members, telling
Mhm.
about the abuse, how they are used as free labor
Yeah,
for
it's,
people.
listen, Siog is the modern slavery. It's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So for whatever political views or stance we have, it's important that we have people that are so-called high profile speaking
Yeah,
out because
yeah.
it brings out the awareness. So
No, I agree.
extremely important. But interesting. She was then for some time in Denmark as well.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I
Okay,
remember her.
okay.
Yeah.
And this husband is. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, because she was very like, look at me, like a big, trying to be a celebrity and being a big
Yeah,
hotshot, and with his husband, Dan, he was also, yeah, no, it was okay, it was cool, it was just funny.
yeah. Okay, so they
And
do know in Denmark.
she's
Scientologists.
friends with some of the Danish people that had disconnected from me that I know, that they were in my circle.
Okay, and would Sea organization members know her as well? Of her.
Uh, I don't know, but
Okay,
don't know if in Copenhagen. I don't know.
okay. But this now we don't need to say his name because he's not that much of a public figure. But was he the ex-husband? Was he prominent in Danish Scientology?
No,
No.
no. I think he lives in the U.S., so he
Yeah.
was more there, and I think he only came here to visit or something. Because I've never seen him before. Um,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
his name is it's known. I forgot his name now. Typical Danish name.
Yeah.
Get
Was
shit
it
number.
Torsten? Well, no, it wasn't
Yeah, something like that. Yes,
Torsten. Yeah.
Thorsten something. He
Yeah.
always had like a Leica camera strapped around his neck. He wouldn't
Yeah.
go to the events with his Leica camera.
Yeah.
Leica cameras are very, very expensive cameras, and most of the people that own a Leica camera, in my opinion, are show-offs.
Okay. Haggis Basser is asking, are travel visas public information in Denmark?
Hmm,
No, I,
don't
I
know.
would I would say no because of the GDPR law. You would not be able to track
Hmm,
who is traveling in and out of the country. That
that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not that.
Mhm.
I'm not so educated with all this legal stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I can look into it, but I'm fairly certain that you are basically, not even allowed to publish someone's name without
Yeah,
their
now they're very
consent.
strict in Denmark about this privacy
Yeah.
laws.
Yeah. Bianca saying I CSW 3 times to marry my boyfriend, but was refused each time and got in trouble for each.
Yeah, there are stories like that also in the EU. Yeah,
Yeah. So
he's such a such a control freak. Even our bedroom, our dorms with the bunk beds and the small
yeah,
little cupboard I had, security would sometimes come and do inspection and go through my stuff.
yeah.
it's so like they promote human rights, but in the Sea Org you don't have any rights. It's so no, I couldn't.
Hypocritical. Yes,
Thank you.
I agree. uh, and I think it's very sad when you think about the fact that it's mainly Sea Org members that are promoting you for human rights. They have an Instagram page where they are listing these UNICEF or is it UNICEF? Now I can't remember.
No,
Not
no,
UNICEF,
they don't
but
like UNICEF.
UN human rights. That's the
Yes,
one. Yeah, not UNICEF.
I like
UN.
to do that every year.
And talking about free will, allowed to freedom of express,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
marry the
yeah.
person you
It's all
want,
bullshit.
all
It's
these
all
things.
PR. They're trying to put a facade,
Yeah,
and Elwich was smart about it. He did invent those volunteer minister and all this stuff to make facades and look what we're doing, look what we're doing. But
yeah,
it's a facade because at the end it's empty. It's all empty stuff.
yeah. I think Amy has made a perfect comment here. I think this is the perfect closing comment: is that we have to unite to bring an end, and I think that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Which is
why
a
you're.
pretty boring. Listen, Scientology is gonna die. Not
Yeah,
fully die because there's always be crazy people, but with the internet and with the protester and with the information and with the documentaries and with people speaking out and with newspapers, and there's a reason why in Denmark there's so little Danish that are in Scientology. It's because they are educated. They know what
yeah,
it is. You ask any Dane, 99 out of 100 will tell you it's a cult.
mm,
And they know it. Even the government knows it. After my
yeah,
article in Berlingske, they were basically commenting, "We know it's a cult. We know that
mm,
they are brainwashing people. Like they're not even hiding it. It's a fact."
yeah,
So education is important. We have to educate the people. In
yeah,
Denmark, they are educated. Maybe just they're educated in the sense that they know that Scientology is a cult, but they are not educated of how much shit is happening inside there and how much abuse
yeah,
and how much illegal stuff is actually happening behind.
yeah.
That they are not
Exactly.
educated about.
Exactly, and that's why it's so problematic, because Danish people are educated, but we are having people trafficked to
Yeah,
Denmark and
yeah,
taken advantage, doing slave work in the heart of Copenhagen under
mm,
everyone's eyes. And I
yeah.
think that's such a huge stain on the map of Denmark, that this
That
can
was
be
me.
allowed, and no one does anything about it. So
That was me. I walking every day 4 times from Store Conquerscale to Court Atterscale. I was in the most rich area of Copenhagen, in the
yeah,
center, walking with this uniform, running because we only had 45 minutes to eat. So we had 15 minutes to walk, 15 minutes to eat, and 15 minutes to walk back. And like
yeah,
in the heart of Copenhagen, everybody saw us. Everybody knew who we were.
yeah,
But they didn't know that sometimes we're being abused, working all night, not having proper sleep or proper food. The food
yeah,
was terrible. I remember like, on Wednesdays we would get pasta, and it came in this IKEA box, plastic
yeah,
box, because the food was being cooked in Nordland, which is on the other
mm,
side of the city, in Vesterborgel, and they would drive the food to Corona, and picking this plastic box with pasta that has become dry because it was left in there during the drive, that you had to like cut it into cubes to take your pasta out, and it was like all stuck together. It was like
mm,
so bad, so low quality. It was so low quality. We had
yeah,
chickens one day of the week, and the chicken was so dry. I never
yeah,
ate that chicken. It was so disgusting. I was traumatized of chicken after that. And
yeah,
even today, I have a hard time to eat chicken because in general, I don't like chicken because of that experience in the Sea Org. And my wife, she's Italian, so she makes really good food, and she's
mm.
she's really good at this stuff, and she makes really good chicken. But I'm still not like, okay, the chicken is good, I can eat it. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, still like chicken. And I think about this dry, ugly, disgusting chicken. No,
Yeah,
the food was terrible. I
yeah,
remember also one lunch was bread and a slice of cheese. That's what it was.
yeah,
A slice of bread and a slice of cheese, nothing else.
yeah,
That was lunch. One of the lunches.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, food deprivation is also something Palas has talked about,
Yeah.
especially volunteering in Narconon. There was days when there was no food there. So not
Yeah,
even that.
and sometimes you get there, like all the members are running to go
Mm,
eat, but also you cannot be behind because if you're behind, there's no more food left.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also yeah, yeah. And then when I got to work in a Danish company and I saw how was it giving food and making, and I'm like, it could be done so much more professional and so much better and so much more care and so much, like, it wouldn't be hard to improve and to make it
No,
really good,
no,
like thousands of
absolutely.
Danish companies are doing it. Why can the CEO not do it? Because they want
Yeah,
to save money. They are very dinosaurs about money. They don't want to spend money on swimmers. They don't want to spend money on things that is not needed. They only
yeah,
spend money on what they think is more important.
yeah. They want to save the world, but they're not even taking care of their own
Yeah,
people. So,
exactly. They're not even getting them to go up the bridge and becoming
yeah, yeah,
clear OTs, superpower, cause of a mess, and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. So, but thank you so much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much for talking with me today. Hagisbasser
My
say,
pleasure.
yeah, you, Bianca, Samuel Ballar's voices are important in exposing them and the abuses. And there's a
And
lot
there
of
are
things
more.
happening now, positive
Yeah.
things. So I definitely look forward to talk to you again, and hopefully there's going to be some development. But right now, regarding your mother, there's nothing you can do. Only if she can reach out to you.
There's always something I can do.
Yeah.
There's always something I can do. But I
Yeah.
don't want to say too much online.
No, I understand that. Uh, if you are interested in audience to get involved on F-Science or that space and resources, there's something called Denmark list, and there's a list of all Danish parliamentarians you can write email to regarding your grievances regarding Scientology and their operations in
Yeah,
Denmark. You can send an email to the justice minister. You can send email
yeah,
to the social minister. There's a lot of different people to get in touch with. So please do that if you have the time and energy
yeah,
for it.
yeah. Yes,
So
yes.
good.
Thank you again for your work, for your persistence, for your courage. Um, Thank you, Mirjam. You're strong. I was speaking to somebody recently about you, that you're very, very strong.
Thank you very much. I just feel like I need to make a lot of wrongs right now. And now I'm happy I have friends here to help me with that. And yeah, Scientology maybe was dangerous at one point, but now it's just toothless,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
old
They, yeah, they don't
old
have much power.
institution with no power, no real
No,
power.
Denmark doesn't consider them as a religion. They don't recognize it as a religion. They don't have that much power here.
Yeah,
They should be careful with what they do.
yeah,
And all
absolutely.
what they can do and all what they have done so far, it was to lie through the teeth. Like one of the answers from Anne Drestrup, the
Mm,
OSA spokesperson of Scientology here in
mm,
Denmark. She said that they kicked me out of the Sea Org.
mm,
And I'm like, when I read that, I got pissed. I was like, you
yeah.
little. We didn't talk about. I was fighting for 9 months to get out. I wish you kicked me out, but
Yeah,
that's what they can do. They can't say much. They pretend to be religions. They hide behind that the other people are bigots and that they're just saying this as anti-religious stuff, but and lies. That's all what they do, and that's all they can do.
yeah.
And
And
I wish
that's
I would kick
actually
them.
funny. Yeah, it's funny in Denmark that, talking about being a anti-religious bigot and everything, that's not even really hardly an insult in Denmark because no one, hardly anyone is like heavily religious in Denmark. So
No, that's
it's
true.
not really an insult or a very serious
No, no, no,
accusation.
no, no. And I've spoken to many people and journalists and other formal people, and they all told me, they all ask me especially after the article, like, how are you doing? And
Mm,
did you see the answer? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, I was like, so dumb. And it's like, yeah, it's so dumb. And like all the Danish people, they read this and like they make themselves a fool. They're making themselves
yeah.
like a fool. But because they had the
Yeah.
mentality of this bubble and Scientology, they like think,
Mm,
oh, we are religion, we're so precious. And the answer she gives, she's just shooting herself in the foot. And
yeah.
people read through that right away. It's so dumb.
Yeah. 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 I didn't even want to, bring it up because it's so ridiculous. The
No, no,
reason
no.
why you,
I think you should bring it up because it's so dumb and she's lying. She's
yeah.
lying. She said
Yeah.
also something about like I couldn't be ethical about 2D, my 2D.
Yeah.
Like 2D means the second dynamic, which is sex and families.
Mm.
That is not true. I was married in the Sea Org. We left together. When I was in the Sea Org, nothing of that out ethics has happened.
Yeah.
It's a total lie.
Yeah. But to masturbate is already something that is very
Ah,
forbidden.
yeah.
And
Hey,
yeah,
oh dear. Yeah, no. Masturbation is
it's
pussy
a high
among
crime. It's a
it's
high crime.
but you
Yeah.
know it's even weird because there's no LOH policies that actually say that you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
really a cultural thing that was invented in there. I don't know by who. The only thing LOH talks about, which is what they make you read when you go to ethics for masturbating, is he talks about like how when monkeys do it, they are recalling images in their head, and that is bad. So they try to refer that when you do that, it's actually unhealthy because you're recalling images in your head to do that. And I was like, okay, maybe maybe it's a bad thing in Scientology, okay. But what if you're not recalling images and you have like a magazine in front of you or like a video,
Yeah.
and you're not recalling
What
anything?
if you're not thinking about anything?
Yeah, no. Jokes aside, they have a paranoia on sex as well. They are
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
why. I really don't know why. It's a bit strange.
Yeah. But it must be about the controlling individuals. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I I felt really really bad in when I was before I got married. I really thought I was gonna go on the RPF for that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it really traumatized me for a while.
Yeah.
I thought I
Yeah.
was like the most evil person in the world. Like, and then
Yeah.
you start to blame. It's really unhealthy. It's really bad, and
Yeah.
then it's not good.
Yeah. I totally agree. But thank you for coming to stay for a second while we after I end the stream. But thank you for everyone joining the conversation, asking questions to Cyril,
Yes.
and giving supporting comments. It's very much appreciated, and I hope we get to do this soon. And I hope everyone's gonna have a great day or evening, depending where you are.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your questions. Thank you again. And if you need anything or you have any more further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you're watching this and you want to leave the Sea Org of Scientology, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than willing to help you, all in secret.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
peace. Good night.
Good night.